participation by, we're starting this meeting at 6:04, and I'm going to read the hybrid meeting public participation by Zoom and in person. This meeting will be conducted pursuant to the government code 54953E1A. In order to minimize the spread of COVID virus, the Planning Commission is conducting this meeting by Zoom webinar and will be offering alternative options for the public. You are encouraged to watch the meeting on Zoom and Facebook. This meeting will be open to the public under the following conditions. All attendees must comply and wear face masks if fully vaccinated and show proof. If providing proof, attendees will not need to wear a face covering if you are exempt from the state face covering guidelines or fully vaccinated. You will be required to wear a mask to attend the meeting. All attendees must comply with any other rules and procedures instructed announced by the chair and or city staff. Any violations of the above may result in the chair closing the meeting effectively, immediately, or clearing the room, as well as other enforcement actions. The meeting will be available through Zoom for those who wish to join and require accommodations with the following instruction below. The meeting can also be accessed by the public website method through Zoom, http://Zoom USA, per instructions stated by below on Facebook. Okay, can we take a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair Yolanda Delgado.
Present.
Vice Chair Jackie Morris Lopez.
Present.
Wonderful. Commissioner David Medeiros.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Delgado, we have a quorum of the 3 members present. As we know, we have 1 position vacant.
Yes.
And it is my understanding, attorney, that we have 1 person who's currently not present, which will be addressed later on the agenda tonight.
Actually, it needs to be addressed here because it is not on the agenda.
Thank
Having
you,
come
sir.
up after the agenda was already published, but just an announcement that a review of the records of the Planning Commission determined that Commissioner McShane had at a point in the past not been present for 2 meetings within a 6-month period. And per the municipal code, that would automatically vacate that office through an automatic forfeiture. So that is the reason Commissioner McShane is not here this evening.
Excuse me, this is Chair Morris Lopez. I just want to make a correction on what Mr. Rathie had just said. There was actually a total of 3 absences, but the 3 absences were spread out enough that if you took 2, there were 2 absences within a 3-month period, and then the other 2 were within a 4-month period. So there's a total of 3.
Well, actually, but 2 are within a 6-month period.
They all 3 were, if you group them together, depending on how you split them up. He actually qualified for 2
Yeah.
6-month periods of 2
Right.
sets of absences.
And
Thank you.
one is enough. One is enough. So yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you very much for all the clarification, but Chair Delgado, that does bring us to definitely note we have a quorum and meeting can proceed.
At 6:04. Okay. Commissioner Medeiros, could you do pledge allegiance, please?
Yes, please stand. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of the
flag,
United States
United States of America,
and to the republic
and
for
to the
which it
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
indivisible, and
Thank you.
justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, with that, is there any public comments on the and items not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission? This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons deserved to address the commission or on matters that are not on this agenda. The law does not permit commission access or extended discussions of any items not on the agenda except under special circumstances. If commission action is requested, the commissioner may place the matter on the future agenda. Norma, do we have anybody?
Thank you very much, Chair. Those who are in attendance tonight, joining us by Zoom, if you wish to speak as a public comment item, you can do so by raising your hand. And raising your hand can be done by using the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. And for those that have called in, that would be by pressing *9. Your hand will raise, I'll bring you into the meeting, and your time will start. Again, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Chair Delgado, we don't have any hands raised on Zoom tonight, and you might ask
What-
Brian, Assistant City Manager, if anyone is in the chambers.
Brian, Don, is anybody raising their hands?
I don't see anybody raising their hands.
Okay, any papers they submitted?
We did not get any
Any-
written testimony.
Okay, no, okay. All right, so with that, we have a presentation from San Benito County Projects by Abraham Pagvera, Assistant Director of San Benito County Rescue Management Agency, RMA. Are they here, San Benito County? For
I do not see
presentation?
anyone.
Yeah, if you would just wait just 1 second while we get organized for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, they're in the chambers. How wonderful. Thank you.
So we need to get Abraham's PowerPoint loaded up. Sorry for the delay. We're still getting organized. Sorry.
Don, I see your pants. Or who's at the podium
That's Abraham.
there? Okay,
I'm not allowed to wear blue jeans today.
okay. Is this presentation going to be visible for the commissioners on Zoom?
Yes, and that's the point. Brian wasn't aware that he needed to save it on the server so that we could access it during the meeting. But it's sitting on his desk in his email. So he's going to retrieve that for us and we'll be up in just a minute.
Okay.
Crutches of hybrid. We're doing good though.
This will take practice, no doubt, Norma.
Yeah.
Nora, is there any success yet?
It looks like we're getting there. We've got some
Okay.
share screen going and we're almost there, Chair.
Okay.
Bob, can you bring your camera down a little bit?
Are you talking to me?
No, Bob. There you are. We want to see you. You're muted. I think it was that way for the Pledge of Allegiance, right?
That's right. I stood up for the pledge and I just remained standing.
That's right.
So we're ready to go. You can see the slideshow?
We cannot see the slideshow right now. It went away.
Okay.
Dawn, is it the one in our package?
I'm not sure what's in your package.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Wonderful. Thank you. We are up and running.
All right, so. All right, we're sharing. Great.
We're not getting any sound from the chambers. So if the presentation has started, Zoom is not receiving any sound. We do see the PowerPoint presentation on the screen though.
Thank you, Nora.
Mhm.
Is this better? That's better.
Thank you very much. Perfect.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for pointing that out. My name is Abraham Prado. I am currently serving as the Assistant Director of Planning and Building Services for the County of San Benito Resource Management Agency. I've actually been with the county for just a little under 4 months, but I do bring with me over 15 years of planning experience. And so very happy to be here today to share a little bit about some of the projects that San Benito County has going on. Just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in San Benito County. I currently live in Hollister with my beautiful wife and 4 kids. And I'm happy to be here today. I also want to mention that I am very fortunate to have our County Counsel, Joe Ellenwood, here with us today as well. So thank you so much. And so with that, I'd like to...
Hello, could you point the camera to yourself, Abraham?
Yeah.
The camera's on Dawn and Brian.
Sure. The camera, okay. Is there a way? Okay, great.
A little.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Would I be able to get the next slide, please? So we prepared this next slide basically to show all the different projects that we have going on. These are just the major projects, not including some of the day-to-day projects that we have, such as minor subdivisions, use permits and temporary use permits and so forth. These are more of the major projects, use permits, major subdivisions that we have. But today we're mainly going to focus on the ones west of the city of Hollister city limits. And this map here, we'll be having it online pretty soon, but essentially it's color coded. And the very top, you'll see like the olive green color. Those are the projects that are built and occupied, but maybe just need very minor things, maybe like the acceptance of the subdivision or whatnot. But those are mostly projects that are just about complete. Then the projects with the lime green color, these are projects that have been approved, such as by the Planning Commission, but have not begun construction. They still need to go through that phase of obtaining building permits, possibly even a final map. The ones on the purple are currently projects that are underway with the CEQA review and are currently under review for an environmental impact report mostly. Those in orange, like number 8, that we'll talk a little bit about today, San Juan Oaks, number 6, Santana Ranch. Those are projects that have been actually entitled or approved by the Planning Commission and have begun construction. And then there's also those in blue. Those are properties that have been pre-zoned and are subject for annexation that are still pending. Before I go to the next slide, I just want to briefly point out number 8, which is the San Juan Oaks development. That if you've driven on 156 towards Hollister or from Hollister to San Juan Bautista, you'll notice that if you look southbound, that there's some activity, some construction activity going on right now. There's actually grading that's going on at this time. That whole number 8 there consists of a total of 1,994 acres. However, the majority of that land, for 1,200 acres, is going to be preserved. It's not going to be touched. It's basically going to be preserved for permanent wildlife habitat. About 180 acres or so of that site is going to be for an approved 1,017 age restricted for 55 years and older single family homes. So 1,017 single family homes age restricted, and an additional 67 non-age restricted single family homes for a total of 1,084 units on that site. And there will also be a 200-room hotel and up to 65,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial and office space areas within the proposed development. And these services would entail such as retail, professional services such as bank and a restaurant, a small market, a coffee shop, bakeries, insurance offices, and other similar services to that effect. At this time, approximately 2015 or so, the property owner went through a out of jurisdiction service agreement with the city of Hollister for the sewer connection to that site. And my understanding is that they're currently working on that connection. And they are also, if you look southbound on 156 along that site, you'll see that there are 2 large tanks up in the hill. They're 500,000 gallons. They can store 500,000 gallons of water, and so that's going to be privately maintained. It's going to be connected to a well, privately maintained, to provide services to the future development of that area. And of course, the golf course will reopen eventually as well. Just wanted to touch on that development. Can we go to the next page? Next slide, please. So the others to the west of the city of Hollister is Traveler Station, Berabel, Strata, and Strata Verde. And so if we can go to the next slide, please. And so all of these are going through an environmental review period at this time. And essentially during the environmental review period, we look at all these different categories, these sections that are up in the screen: aesthetics, agriculture, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, transportation. And we look for, we as a lead agency are the ones that oversee the environmental impact report, but due to the resources, we often have to consult with the professional agencies, professional transportation groups, and environmental groups. And so for all these projects mentioned, we do have some of these agencies on board that are helping us out to prepare these studies, and subject to review and approval by the lead agency, which is San Benito County Resources Management Agency. And so I'll get to those projects individually really briefly, but can I go on to the next slide, please? The first one that I would like to talk about is Traveler Station. That's located at the near the intersection of 129 and 101. And the project consists of a 4,000 square foot convenience store, an auto filling and truck filling service, propane cells, electrical vehicle charging stations, and a county informational kiosk. There is the Traveler Station will operate 24 hours a day. And currently, the requirement would be that the Planning Commission approve a use permit. And we started with a mitigative negative declaration for that site, and it went for public review. However, if we can go to the next slide, please. Because we then, and there's an image of the site there, because then we were working with the Betabel commercial conditional use permit, and we were doing the environmental review for it. And during the review for the cultural resources section of the environmental impact report, as we were preparing the report, we found that there is some cultural landscape significance in the area. It was considered to be significant, unavoidable. And so because of that, and because of the proximity to Traveler Station, we regrouped. And so now we would like to do more of a focused environmental impact report for the Traveler Station to actually consider the cultural section again, and more than likely it would probably be very similar to Betabel, which is significant, unavoidable. And so therefore, instead of we were hoping to take Traveler Station to the Planning Commission for entitlements consideration in August, but because of this new finding, more than likely we will try to work on that focused EIR and hopefully put it out for public review either late August, early September. And so we're looking possibly at a Planning Commission date of sometime in October. Since we're here in this on this topic right across the street to the east, and I didn't get this slide in time for when I provided it last week, we have since been approached by a developer right across the street to the east of this project, and they would like to propose what they're calling San Benito County Ag Center, and they've indicated that they actually want to submit an application either at the end of July, which we passed, or early August. So we're anticipating this, and it's a truck stop with idle air capacity, which allows for trucks to be able to park there and actually connect and keep refrigeration instead of being essentially out in the streets, parked on the side of the streets. They'll be able to actually go there and keep refrigeration. And then whenever they have to go to the sites, such as Earthbound Farms or wherever it may be, then they can leave that facility and go to that site. They also want to propose a 20,000 square foot cold storage facility and an approximately 16,540 square foot commercial store and food hall building with a 10 dispenser gas station and canopy right across the street from Traveler Station. That's just the recent information we've received without a formal application, but we wanted to bring it to your attention. Can I get the next slide, please? So the next one is the Betabel proposed conditional use permit. And this proposes a 26-acre site within, it's a little bit over 100-acre overall area, but the project site would be amongst 26 acres, and it would develop 108,000 425 square feet of commercial space consisting of a gas station with convenience store, a restaurant, buildings with exhibits, a motel with outdoor pool and an outdoor movie screen and an outdoor event center is what's being proposed. Can I get the next slide, please? So this is an aerial image of the overall site in red, but the actual project site is outlined in yellow. And the environmental impact report that's been prepared, there's a draft that's been prepared and it actually was released on July 22nd for a 45-day review period, which ends on September 6th. And so we're hoping to get comments from all of our responsible agencies and the public. And the projected planning commission date for the project is September 21st. And the projected board of supervisors date would be October 25th. Can I get the next slide, please? And so, like I mentioned, this is a little bit of an outdated slide, but as I mentioned, it proposes all of the items that are up on the screen, with the exception of on the left-hand side, at the very bottom says trails. That has now been removed from the project description. So that is no longer something that is being considered at this time. I do want to mention that my colleague Ariel Goodspeed, principal planner with San Benito County, and myself, Abraham Prado, have been designated by the Board of Supervisors to be the contact persons for travel consultation. And we have started travel consultation for the Bettable project. We have done various meetings already, at least 3 formal, and I believe it's been like 2 or 3 informal meetings with the Amamutsan Travel Band for this particular project. And so those are ongoing. And we have also started, we have not begun consultation, but we have been requested for travel consultation on the 2 previous projects for Traveler Station and San Benito Ag Center. And we've done a informal meeting with the representatives of the tribe on site already for those two projects. Can I get the next slide, please? Okay, so that leads us to last but not least, our Strata Verde Innovation Park proposal, and which is a proposal for a new automotive research and development campus and business center on approximately 2,767 acre triangular shaped site. At maximum build out, the project would include approximately 7,221,159 square feet of testing grounds, research park, e-commerce, and commercial areas. That translates to about 165 acres. So out of the 2,767 acre site, about 165 of those acres would be actually the developable site area. And I'll show you a map in a little bit. And so part of their requirements are EIR approval. They need general plan amendments, a specific plan approval, a zone change, a vesting center map, and a development agreement. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. So some of these are, this is overall like a color-coded map. And really briefly, the light blue area is in the center. The majority of that area is for the testing grounds. The testing grounds will serve as an area for testing new technology in the mobility sector, including electrified and automated vehicles. And so that's the light blue area in the very center. Then the research park, I don't have a mouse with me where I can put the cursor, but it's kind of like the next to the navy blue color, to the south of the navy blue color, that's the research park. And that's going to be for space for research, office and light manufacturing uses. The next area, the navy blue color, and thank you, Ben, is for the e-commerce, and that's for a range of commercial and light industrial facilities, including distribution, logistics, research and development, and large footprint laboratories. Then the purple area, kind of towards the center, is for the commercial development there. And I have acreage as well if you request them. And for the commercial, it's 24 acres. And that's that would consist of commercial land uses, including hospitality and retail establishments, as well as public service facilities such as potential fire and police stations. Then we have the greenway, that line that kind of goes through the middle. And then there's also a little bit of a greenway at the very at the each extreme as well. And that is more of an open open land use type, and it would also serve for like stormwater management as well, but it's more of an open area, kind of serve as a buffer between land uses as well. Then we have the agricultural use, which is kind of like the lime green color up towards the top. That's for agricultural uses that will be in the area about 227 acres of agricultural uses. Then we have the Pajaro River wetlands and riparian area, which is more of the darker green area to the east, and that's going to be a preserved area of 394 acres. Then the olive green darker color is that one exactly right there, is going to be an area of approximately 157 acres, and that's going to be an area to treat stormwater management required by the state. And at the very bottom, the lime green area at the very bottom, that's approximately 153 acres of habitat preserve for the California tiger salamander upland habitat. That's for that site. And the proposal includes no housing within the site, and also the traffic, the entrance and the exit to the project site and from the project site would be through 101 only. There will be at the very bottom access to Highway 25, but only as an emergency vehicle, EVA, emergency vehicle access only. Can I have the next slide, please? So the EIR is underway, and the hope is to finalize all the studies and have a draft environmental impact report by the first quarter of 2023, and then have Planning Commission public hearings and Board of Supervisor hearings second and third quarter of 2023 as well. So that's a brief overview of just some of the major projects that San Bernardino County Resource Management Agency currently has. We're happy to present them to your commission and be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. The next
Thank
slide.
you, Mr. Parada.
Sure, you're welcome.
Are you done, Mr. Parada?
Yeah, the next slide just shows a little bit of a summary of all the projected dates of the public hearings, but I am done at this time. Thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Parada.
Welcome.
Is there a Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything to say on this matter?
No, I thought it was a great presentation.
Okay. Commissioner Maderos, do you have any comments, questions, or concerns?
Wow. This is probably the first time I've seen it all in a nutshell. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I think we're all I'm in a state of shock right now, quite frankly. This is a lot of information. There's lots going on right now. Some of the things that I'm thinking of, wasn't there a measure that the county was voting on to put a stop to some of this? And I'd like to know where that's at right now. What's the status on that measure? I know there's been a lot of controversy one way or the other. That I'd like to know more about and be more transparent as to what's going on there. The other thing is, the major thing that I'm thinking right off the bat the San Juan area, the San Juan Valley and the city itself, we're a rural community. And the impact of this area and the amount of traffic that's going to be going on and the activity that's in, now we're talking on over on the overpass on Highway 129. We're talking about Belleville Road. We're talking about whatever that Verde is. I'm still not in with all this. So it's all relatively new. I'd like to know what a timeline is on this. I know that it looks like the planning stage is not even started yet, that kind of a thing. So what's the timeline for every one of these projects? I'd like to hear more about that. And I'm assuming that's what's going to happen on. But the biggest fear I have is all this is coming out right now. And even though we asked for more information, we asked for more support on this and allow us to give more feedback and what have you, it seems like, hey, how far are we already where it doesn't matter what we say or do right now because it's going to happen. So, so there's a lot of questions I have, and where do we go to get all these answers? And I'm really curious. The presentation was well done, but I was given a certain amount of information, but now I'm seeing more information at the presentation, and I would like that information too as well in my package. So, and then the bottom line is, what do you want us to do? I mean, what do you expect from us? Right now, there's a lot to chew, and I'm trying to figure out where this all going to fit. And it just sounds like it's all surrounding our area. And I want to know if we're going to have any kind of input. What is that input? How much of an impact that's going to be? So, I mean, I can go on and on for this. So I don't know if that's enough questions for you, concerns on my part, whether and you're looking at somebody who's open-minded about a lot of things when it comes to our area. And I'm really not shocked, but maybe like overwhelmed with a lot of information, starting with even with San Juan Oaks. Like how many structures are going in there? You say develop this, develop that, and you come up with square feet and stuff like that. How many buildings are we looking at? It's going to be changing our whole landscape around us. And what kind of a change is that going to be? What kind of, and I know you're going to go through EIRs and stuff like that, but just because you do EIRs, that's another thing that gets thrown in our face. And after the EIR is done, then what does that mean? Our input doesn't mean anything anymore, or, that kind of a thing. So I'm rattling on here. That's because there's just a lot of stuff here. And I hope what I just said made a little bit of sense, because right now I'm lost. And as a planning commissioner and a board member for the Historical Resources, wow. That's all I got to say right now until I learn more about this. But let's start with measure something. Was it measure H? Was that the measure that was put out by and voted on, and that they went against these projects? Where do we stand there? And if there was a vote against it, what does that mean for these projects? Thank you.
Your microphone's not on.
Thank you, Commissioner Meleros.
Permission to speak,
Oh.
Chair Delgado?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm asking for permission.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Chair, we can hear you, but we can't hear people inside the chambers. I don't know if microphones aren't on or if they aren't speaking close enough to the microphone.
Permission to speak, Chair Delgado?
Go ahead,
Okay. this is-
Commissioner.
Now she's on.
Can you hear me?
You kind of got cut off, but I think you said I could speak.
Well, yeah, well, hold on, Jackie, hold on, Vice Chair. I wanted Mr. Prada to answer some of Chair Madero's question, about being it, whatever measure was, that did not pass. And we didn't get all this information in time, because like him, I have some questions about that. But Mr. Prada, could you answer about the measure that defeated the Strata Verde down?
Madam Chair and members of the commission, great question. I do want to say that fortunately, just right before I came to San Juan Bautista, I gave our county council, Joe Ellingwood, a call just to let him know if he wanted to join me for this evening. He did not know about this meeting that I was going to come and give a presentation, an informational presentation only, and he was kind enough to join me. So he can come up and address the question, but just so you know, it was not necessarily fair for him. That was last minute. I don't think he was expecting it before, like just an hour ago, but he's kind enough to come up and address it. Our county council representative Joe Ellingwood. I'm gonna have him come up if that's okay.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the promotion. I'm the assistant county counsel. Barbara Thompson is the county counsel. And I've been with San Benito County since September of 2019. And in that time, we've had a very busy time in terms of land use initiatives. The first one that came to the ballot was on the basis of a referendum of a zoning ordinance to implement the general plan nodes along Highway 101, and that was Measure K. And that, as a result of that zoning ordinance that established special standards for those developments for commercial nodes along Highway 101 was defeated. But commercial zoning, C1 zoning, is still consistent with the general plan commercial node designation, and individual property owners in those areas have proceeded to apply for and be granted commercial combining district zoning for that. A second general plan amendment was proposed in 2020, but for whatever reason, the proponents decided not to pursue circulating that petition. And that would have been a general plan amendment to essentially remove the commercial node designations for 16 commercial nodes throughout the county, including the 4 on 101. And as I said, that general plan initiative measure did not proceed to the ballot. However, during the same time frame, the proponents of the Strata Verde project, thinking that there would be another general plan amendment, qualified a measure on the ballot to have voter approval of certain aspects of the Strata Verde project, and that was designated as Measure N. That was also defeated. And in this current election cycle, the original general plan amendment to repeal the commercial nodes along Highway 101 and at other intersections throughout the unincorporated county has qualified for the ballot, and it will be on the ballot as Measure Q. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that. In addition to that, there's another general plan amendment concerning the areas surrounding the Strata Verde project site. The proponents have said it is specifically designed to prevent the Strata Verde project from proceeding, which is to establish a 3.5 mile buffer, no development buffer zone around the chemical site, Trical Chemical Distribution Center at Highway 125 or Highway 25 and the just south of the county line at the Pajaro River. And so that will be on the ballot, assuming the Board of Supervisors decides to do that, and it's anticipated that they will be on the November ballot as Measure R. So we've gone from Measure K to Measure N to Measure Q and R, all related to these things. When I was a land use attorney and a resident in Sutter County, during a time period of 9 years, we went from Measure A to Measure Z. So ballot box planning is popular throughout California. And it's our turn in San Benito County to experience a period of that. So I hope that clarified the question about the ballot measures.
Thank you, sir.
The only other thing that I would point out is the normal planning process, which I'm sure this commissioners are familiar with, is to have public hearings and California Environmental Quality Act, EIR reviews for projects that are heard first at the Planning Commission level. And then if they require legislative action by the governing body, whether it's the city council here in the city or by the Board of Supervisors at the county level. And then if that is, if it requires legislative action, like the zoning designation for the commercial nodes along Highway 101, it can be subject to a referendum and yet another type of ballot measure. That's what occurred with Measure K, and it's possible that the general plan amendment might not be successful, but the project's approved, and then a referendum petition is circulated and qualified for the ballot, and we'd be back voting on these projects again. So that's the way land use planning works in California. There are lots of opportunities for voter involvement, as well as the traditional or the normal planning process and public involvement through that process. As far as the timeline is concerned, although Mr. Prado can address that, but basically in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had draft environmental impact reports released. They have a minimum public comment period of 45 days. So I would encourage anybody who's interested in these projects that they review those environmental impact reports. They're available to read or download from the county website for each of these projects, and to submit your comments in writing during that 45-day review period. One of the things that wasn't included in the presentation is that there is a project an EIR for a project to expand the county landfill on John Smith Road. So that EIR is in circulation. So we have currently 3 EIRs for significant projects in San Benito County available for review and public comment. Changes do happen in projects as a result of comments that are made in EIRs or from participation at Planning Commission or Board of Supervisors or City Council level. Projects are changed. They are not inevitable. So the public is encouraged to participate and bring suggestions for changes or outright opposition. All of that, the decision makers listen to, take into account, weigh the arguments for and against, and either modify projects or deny projects outright. And then they could be subject to a referendum with further voter involvement.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Vice Chair Morris Lopez, Do you have any comments, questions, or concerns?
Yes, thank you, Chair Delgado. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Prado and Mr. Allen. Specifically with the three projects here on our side of the county. Okay, is that better? I'm sorry, I'll talk louder. I have a soft voice. Just don't get me mad. Then it goes up. Anyway, my question is I heard you say that there was some sensitive archaeological findings at the Searle Traveler Center. Is that correct, Mr. Prada?
Commissioner Morales Lopez, the findings were at the Bedabel area from the cultural studies report that was uncovered.
Mhm.
And so because of that, the Searle Road, because of the proximity to the Searle
Right.
Road area, what we want to do now is do a cultural study, focused EIR for that site, because since it was discovered as a cultural significant area at Bedabo, and it's just in such a close proximity to Searle, we want to do the same thing, and it may be that it would also be found that it is a significant area there as well.
Right, I think that's a good practice and
Sure.
probably going a step further and considering Strata Verde. I mean, it's all contiguous with Alma Mutson. They're having right now a huge issue with a quarry that's proposed in Santa Clara County that's just up the road from us.
Correct.
So I think there's also a California law that requires direct communication with a representation of a local indigenous tribe. Have you reached out to Mr. Valentin Lopez?
That is correct, Commissioner Morris Lopez. We have had various consultation meetings when Mr.
Yeah.
Chair Valentin Lopez. That's correct.
Right,
Yes.
and I appreciate that because his right now, the status of his tribe is that they don't have federal designation, so it's really precarious. They don't have the money or the funding, but nonetheless, they were here.
Yes.
And I think if we're going to do the right thing for our community and show that we are doing the right thing, we need to include them in that process, whether or not they have the federal designation yet. My other comment or question to you is that I see that on the Bettable node, there is a structure that was put up and it looks abandoned. And to me, that doesn't look like it's doing anything. You're talking about the projection for hotels and outdoor movie screens and whatnot, but the original property owner had proposed a 100% profits to cancer research for a deceased child. And the original project was to be a fruit stand that would sell local products. Right now, it looks blighted and abandoned. What is going on with that?
Good question. Thank you for that. And my understanding is that is the building that's currently there and not being in use is actually the fruit stand that was approved.
Mhm.
I'm not sure of the dates exactly, but my understanding is that is going to be the building that's going to be used as a fruit stand, and the additional entitlements that Mr. Ryder, the owner, is trying to obtain from the San Benito County is for the rest of the 26-acre project site, as mentioned, the different buildings in there would be for benefit of the cancer research. It's the information that we are being provided by the property owner, Mr. Ryder.
So is he applying for a CUP?
Yes, it is a use permit that we are currently reviewing through the environmental impact report. That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then as far as Strata Verde having the entrance and exit point off of 101, right directly across from the Bettable node, what is part of the Bettable node for purposes of entrance to that facility, proposed facility, it hasn't been approved yet.
Correct.
How are they going to mitigate that roadway, that frontage road? It's a very small farm road. My husband's family lived there like 30-40 years ago, and it's a small farm road. And every given weekend, you can see the cars are just stacked up idling on that roadway going north or south, depending on the time of the day. How is that going to be looked at or mitigated if you're going to have one main entrance and exit point? And it's also, it sounds to me like right in that area, like Commissioner Maderos mentioned, that's a lot of development that you're looking on our neighborhood. It is our neighborhood. Certainly, we are working on sphere of influence and urban growth boundaries at this time. So it all can affect us. And you've got 3 major commercial developments that are proposed, and one that's already got a building on the property. So how is the county going to do that, fix that as far as roadways, mitigation, traffic, et cetera, the overpass? We have 3 major agricultural businesses out in the valley as well. So the big trucks are going to them. And I heard that there's going to be a cooling station. So it just seems like an awful lot of traffic on a roadway that already is impacted every weekend.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Morris Lopez. We, at this time, have retained the services of Kimley Horn for the Strata Verde Innovation Park project, and they're an engineering firm. They're going to be looking at all of the potential significant impacts and of the traffic, of the transportation section of the environmental impact report, and see if they find any potential significant impacts that can be mitigated, and they'll indicate precisely how those can be mitigated. And if they cannot be mitigated to less than significant, they'll indicate, the reasoning why. But they are on board now, and they are looking at that particular intersection with the potential cumulative impacts of all the other projects that are also being proposed as well, and they'll indicate any potential impacts for the project itself, and how those can be mitigated, and then any potential impacts at a cumulative stage with all the other projects as well, and how those can be mitigated, if at all. So we'll have that information right now for the Strata Verde. That's currently in the process, and so hopefully by the end of this year we're looking at hopefully having a draft and hopefully ready for release the first quarter of 2023 with those studies as well.
Jen, sir, so then is Caltrans going to be involved, because you are talking about Highway 101?
Absolutely, thank you for that. So the County of San Benito is the lead agency, and with that, part of our responsibility is to make sure that we have the responsible agencies involved in this process. And so Caltrans is one of our responsible agencies who have been notified of this project. We have had notice of preparations for the environmental impact report for Strata Verde and Betabel. So we sent out notification of those notices of preparation to all of our responsible agencies, including Caltrans, and so they are definitely involved and are keeping a close eye on these reports.
Thomas,
That's okay.
did the clock start ticking down on that 45-day public review on the projects?
Right now for Betabel, for the ones mentioned on this west of Hollister, for Betabel, there is a 45-day review period that started on July 22nd. And so like Joel indicated, that information is on our website. What I can do when I get back to my office is I can send that link over to Brian. And if it's okay, and it's all of the information, all of the reports, all of the sections are in our website. And so for Betabel, the 45-day started July 22nd, and it will end September 6th. So we encourage all of you to please, and all the members of the public to please provide your comments. And as part of the environmental impact report process is that we then, as a lead agency, take all of these comments, and then we respond to all of the comments that are provided within that 45-day time period as part of our final environmental impact report that gets presented not only to the public, but to the public, to the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors during the public hearings. You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris Lopez. Thank you, Mr. Prada. Commissioner Maderos, do you have a question? Commissioner Maderos?
Yeah, let me, I'm thinking here. I was hoping you were gonna go before me.
Okay, well, I
Chair,
will.
Before I put my hand up.
Okay,
I mean,
that's
I have
fine.
my hand up there just in case you forget about me, but
never forget about
you
you.
haven't given your comments or questions or anything. So I'll wait till after that. I'm sorry.
And I want to thank you for raising your hand, Commissioner Maderos. I have a lot of, I again was not allowed to have all the information for the Stradivari, your presentation. Mr. Prada, excellent presentation, excellent feedback that you're giving me. And like David said, and Commissioner Maderos and Commissioner Morris Lopez, we were not given this presentation that you had, that you gave to Brian, and we didn't get it till today. We got the one that from last week. So everything that I studied is like null and void because you added more to it, right? So I can't comment on that, but the proposition, what Commissioner Madero says, I'm on board with that. It was defeated, but I guess it's going to continue until it's passed. That's what I'm hearing from the gentleman that spoke. And the tribal is also Commissioner Morris Lopez, and I'm concerned about diesels running idly because they do that now at the Taylor Farms. There's a big parking lot, and they all stay there, and it's not a problem. So that's one of my concern about that idling. And let's go back to the Red Barn. My brother moved out to Aromas in 1980, 42 years ago, and there was plans to widen that overpass, the Red Barn where the flea market was. A lot of, and before they made the Caltrans allow them to expand it, there was a lot of accidents because of that. Because Caltrans took forever to approve it and to validate it, just like the 152 that they're dealing with now. That's my concern. Also on 25, the traffic's there that they all line up in the middle of the lane, and that's a major issue for them to go to Hollister. And here you guys want to put another expansion of development, which I'm liberal like David, but let's put our thinking caps on and see where is Caltrans at this, like Commissioner Lopez said, Morris Lopez said, because if you don't have their approval and continue this, you're going to cause havoc. When you come on the weekend, I know you don't live in San Juan, nor does the attorney, nor does Brian. You guys don't deal with this, but the residents of San Juan deal with this. We come down 101 to come home, and we get on 129, and it's backed up because they're going to Watsonville and to Hollister and to San Juan. They use that as a cutoff because 101 and the other one is blocked. It's already congested. And I think before you move on for November, you guys should ask Caltrans, when can they break down, and when can they allow you to expand that so there's not that traffic, there is not those accidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Delgado. Very, very valid points, and definitely Caltrans will continue to be notified of any during the public hearing process of requesting comments from them, and definitely it would be a requirement from the lead agency to be able to respond to these as well. And although you're absolutely right, I will not be able to know exactly, not being from San Juan Bautista, the impacts that are currently existing on the roadways. My wife's family lives in Watsonville, so we try to go at least every Sunday to go. And so I know it's just a small portion of the whole week, but I can see that there are some major impacts, especially when we come back in the afternoons. Here, either if we come back through 129 from Watsonville or 156 to 101 to 156, significant issues during peak time hours. So definitely sympathize with and relate to your comment, Chair Delgado. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chair Meleros, any comments, concerns that you need to add?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, yes, I can hear you.
All right, I just want to make sure. Yes, Mr. Prada, you're Assistant Director of San Benito County Resource Management Agency, and you're saying there's a website we can have access to?
That is
And
correct.
why don't you put that on your presentation so we can have, or a phone number or whatever, so that we can learn more about this.
Absolutely, Commissioner Maderos. I will send that information over to Brian Fauch, and that way you have a direct link to where you 1 or 2 clicks away from these major projects. We have them all on one website. It's www.cosb.us, and it's under the planning department. But I'll send that link over to Brian if that's okay, so he can forward that over to all of you as soon as tomorrow.
Right, and to include, excuse me, to include timelines and things like that, are we gonna see all that kind of stuff in there too? When we're talking about San Juan Oaks and what have you, that should all be included in there as far as Stratus Verde is concerned, and all the projects that you mentioned today with maps. And I would think that part of that communications would be the fact that, you know, dealing with what the public is going to be addressing, and that's the fact of keeping our area the way we want it to keep it, as far as being agricultural, open space, and rural character, what have you. So I think that's going to be a lot of the issues that people probably wrote up a lot of measures up on that too as well. So I'm hoping that that's going to, like what we talked about today, maybe that's going to be addressed on your website too, as well as keeping us engaged and what have you. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Prada, this is Chair Delgado. Could you please email me with Brian so I can get a copy, and then just so make sure that we get it and there's not an error, so that I can forward it on to the commissioners if it get lost in the email through Brian. Could you do that, sir?
Absolutely, Chair Delgado. It'll be my pleasure.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
And that would include all the agencies that we would support. You know, I mean, as far as the supervisors, whatever, consult, you're talking about you talk about general plans, what general plans are going to be changed and amended and what have you. That information should be in there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair
Meleros.
Delgado and commissioners, I have a couple of comments to make. First of all, with respect to timelines, in your presentation this evening from Mr. Prado, there is a schedule. Secondly, there are several opportunities to comment on these projects. The notice of preparation, of course, which is something that's actively happening right now. Then there is also, at the end of the draft EIR, there is a notice of completion that goes out that starts the 45-day review period that Commissioner Morris Lopez was talking about. Then there is a notice of determination that follows, which opens the door to any kind of CEQA challenges that communities might want to initiate. And so as part of the notice of preparation process, there is a scoping session that the agency will have, the county will have, with the responsible agencies, including Caltrans. And then with respect to the scoping session, we would expect then there to be a requirement as part of the analysis to look at cumulative impacts in addition to project-specific impacts. And the cumulative impacts that Mr. Prado is talking about include those that we've referenced before, including traffic, air quality, impacts on resources of various kinds. and including any indirect impacts on surrounding development. And I'm not sure whether there's an impact associated with pressure for development, but that to the extent that there are indirect impacts, those would be impacts that City of San Juan Bautista would be especially concerned with, that might influence our landscape. The other thing is that with respect to cumulative impacts, the county will undoubtedly look at existing projects that are approved, those that are under construction, those that are currently in operation that might not be completed, that are underway, and also those projects that are proposed. And so I expect that these documents will cover that range of potential cumulative impacts so that we can get a good idea, regarding the potential, for example, traffic impacts that Commissioner Morris Lopez mentioned. With the packet that was distributed last week, including this presentation, there is a lot more information that's available on the county's website, and we will obtain as much information as is available and make that available to commissioners. And then we will be taking a close look at the notice of preparation. Well, typically our response to notices of preparation are very general. They say that, for example, we want the county to pay attention to certain kinds of impacts in certain categories of impacts. And so we'll be doing that in a general sense, and then we'll look to the notice of determination and the 45-day review period regarding whether the county really did a good job in covering those impacts. And so we won't get very detailed in the notice of preparation, comments on the notice of preparation, but we will cover those things that we think are important to the city, and then look to the draft EIR for how those issues will be addressed. So that's what we will do. And our responsibility is to look out for the city's interests and to look for a measure of completeness in the documents that will enable us to understand what those impacts might be. So those are my comments, and I think we're certainly with Mr. Prado and Mr. Ellingwood here tonight demonstrates a level of communication that we appreciate. So. Now, any public comments, probably.
Thank you, Brian. Norma, is there any public comments?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We do have someone from the public who does have their hand raised. So in the meantime, as I bring in G. Alvarez, I want to let everyone else know who is in attendance tonight that you can use the raise hand feature by pressing the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or for those that have called in, press *9. And G. Alvarez, when you unmute yourself, your timer will begin.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, it's always kind of fuzzy on Zoom. I actually have more questions. I wanted to thank everybody here from the governmental representatives for providing us with a very, very informative, educational experience on how the process works. I think that is very helpful to all of us who aren't necessarily schooled in how things run. And I'm going to keep this short. I'd like to have Mr. Prado, I'd like his email. And thank you, Mr. Fucht, for indicating that you would pass along information that you would collect. I'd like to know where that will be posted in an easily accessible fashion. I got to tell you, the county's website's not so easy to navigate. So, that this stuff has been posted doesn't necessarily mean that any, non-techie person can find it. So can I get Mr. Prado's email? Thank you.
Absolutely. I will make sure that Mr. Prado's contact information is distributed and available. The other thing is that we do have a page on our website called Projects of Community Interest. And so when we do make comments on these documents, we'll make sure that those comments are posted there.
Thank you.
Okay, so G. Alvarez, if you don't mind stating your name for the record. And I do want to let you know that I did pause your time while Brian was speaking, so you do still have 2 minutes remaining. But at this time, if you can state your name for the record, that would be great. And I will continue your time for the remaining 2 minutes.
Certainly, my name is Gabriela Alvarez. And I was mostly trying to get information. So thank you very much. I cede to whoever else wants my time. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Brian, for the feedback too. So at this time, Chair Delgado, we do not have any other hands raised in Zoom. And I will hand over to Brian to see if there's anyone in the audience, as I can't see in the chambers.
All right, thank you, Norma.
You're welcome.
I don't see anyone in the audience at this point that wishes to speak.
Okay, with that, let's move to 4 consent items. All matters listed under the consent items may be enacted by a motion authorizing actions indicating for those items so designated. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless requested by a planning commissioner, a staff member, or citizen. And we have 4A, approving a posting of the agenda. 4B, approving the minutes for September 2021, approving the minutes for June 9th, 2022, regular meeting. 4D, approved minutes, of the May 19th, 2022 special meeting. And 4E, approve the minutes of the March 1st, 2022 regular meeting. And 4F, approve minutes of February 8th special meeting. Does Commissioner Maderos, do you want to pull any of the meetings, minutes in the meeting?
I do not. The only one that I've asked for was about the meeting, and I don't know if it's been made ready yet, but that's the meeting we had with together with City Council at the VFW Hall. So I wonder when that minutes is going to be available for approval, what have you. But other than that, I'm okay with these.
Okay. Commissioner Morris Lopez, do you want to pull any of the minutes?
No, not at this time. I am in approval with them all. Thank you.
Any hands raised to pull anything, Norma?
Anyone in the audience who would like to speak on the matter of pulling consent items, please raise your hand at this time by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. We do not have any hands raised at this time, Chair Delgado.
Is there anybody in the office?
There's no one in the audience that wishes to speak.
Okay. I just wanted to find out where are we with June 9, 2022 about the ADUs? Have we got anywhere with that, Brian?
Chair Delgado, this is consent items. I'm sorry, but this is a time to just motion on these. If you have
Okay,
inquiry
I'm
about minutes, that's at a later time for inquiry of staff.
Okay, thank you.
You're
With
welcome.
that, does anybody want to make a motion to pass these minutes and the agenda?
Yes, this is Vice Chair Morris Lopez. I propose the motion to approve items, the agenda that has been posted for this meeting, and along with all of the items under consent items number 4, approve the entirety of the items.
Okay,
And I second it.
okay. Can we have a roll call, Norma, please?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Chair Yolanda Delgado,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jackie Morris Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner David Maderos.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. We'll go to the next action item, the report of the ad hoc committee of the open letter from the city council to the planning commission. Jackie, Commissioner Morris Lopez and Commissioner David Maderos, do you have anything to speak on this, or do we need to move that for the next meeting?
No, I do. I do have a presentation. If I can be
Thank you.
allowed to present. So
And
if we can, I'm gonna share
Yes.
I'm gonna
I
share
look
my
for-
screen and hopefully it's gonna work.
Yes, and Chair Delgado, Commissioner Maderos is the lead on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair.
Okay, and can I be allowed to share my screen?
You should see the share screen button at the bottom of your screen.
How about, okay, we're good right here. Okay, so hopefully, this is gonna be my first time, folks, so hang in there. Can you see something?
We can.
You can, huh? Hey, how about that? Anyway,
Job.
let me, yeah, well, oh, hang on, I want to do something else here. Here we go. I think. Okay. So, okay, that being said, let me start. I got a script to a little script that goes with it too. But anyway, before I get into the report, the actual report, I have this to say about all that. Before I start my report, let me make it perfectly clear. I want everybody to know within the sound of my voice that I cannot be more proud and more honored in having the opportunity to be working as a volunteer for the city of San Juan Bautista, currently local government and its administration. This report is hoped will continue to demonstrate my commitment to that effort and certainly do what I can to be a part of doing what's right as best I can, moving forward in all that we can do, united as a local government for the people and the community of San Juan Bautista. So that said, as you know, back in, how come I got, I see everybody to the right of me. Can we get rid of that or something, or?
No, sorry, sir. That's the way that when Zoom.
That's the
when
way
you're
it is.
presenting
Okay, so
something. Mhm.
the first item that we have here, I'm gonna see if I can go forward. Yeah, okay. Let me see if I can go backwards. Yeah, okay. I got this all figured out. Thank you. Anyway, as you know, there was an open letter, and if anybody wants to know what an open letter, I put a little description down below, which is a letter often critical addressed to a particular person or group of people, but intended for publication. And on May 17th to the 18th, 2022, San Juan Bautista City Council transmittal of an open letter to the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission. That all happened back in May. And why? Well, because, oh, shoot, I can't read some of that. I'm trying to see if I can shrink this down a little bit. Anyway, concerning, as far as the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission, there was some concerns about conducting meetings and fulfilling its duties. That was spoken at one of the meetings that I happened to review the recording of. And it was also documented on the letter that not meeting city council's expectation in terms of demeanor and performance is pretty much what I felt was kind of the meat and potatoes of that particular open letter. And as you can see on your left, this is a copy of the open letter. And it was approved on the 17th of May by all of City Council, a unanimous decision. It was also subject to a resolution that was also approved on the same day, which was on May 17th. And on the 20th, I received a letter from the city. And in that envelope came the letter, the open letter to me personally. And as you can see, I personally took care of it. But anyway, hopefully what I put on there, you can see some inscriptions there and stuff like that and some highlights, which I thought was really important for me to interpret the letter itself. And I'm hoping that today's presentation will serve what you can't really read, my chicken scratch. But anyway, I got it on the 20th of May, this letter. And of course, I did read it. And anyway, after receiving the open letter on May 20th, I met with the San Juan Bautista mayor, San Juan Bautista city manager, the director, and also the San Juan Bautista city attorney. They were told I was not going along with the open letter until I complete my research on the matter. This included going back over the meeting minutes and video recordings, of which I put some attachments to that on this presentation, but not all of them, I should say, many of them. That if I were to address the open letter at any time, I will also be in front of the San Juan Bautista. So I thought to myself, if I was going to look into this matter personally, I felt compelled to go before the city council and let them know what I think about the whole situation. Well, that in itself wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. That being said, ad hoc committee was put together between myself and Jackie Morris Lopez. We were appointed on the 9th of June. And on the 18th of June, Jackie Morris Lopez and myself, we met. When we reviewed the letter, the open letter, and we came up with some recommendations and in some conclusions, you might say. So in reviewing a letter, if you look on the left side, these are some of the things that I was looking for. Some of, we swore an oath. These are the things that were going through my mind, and when things like this happen, some of these things that come out in the open should be done in private, and like I put here, correct each other in private. We defend each other in public and keep personal matters off the social media kind of a thing. So those are some of the kind of premises I kind of benchmarked for myself and was looking for that no matter where I was going when I did some research on this. So as a result, on the right, you can see some of the questions I put in. Is the San Juan Bautista City Council being disrespectful, or is the open letter uncalled for? Some of the thoughts I put in it. Now, some of this is on the right there, you can see is covered up and I can't read it all, but hopefully you can see the gist of it. An open letter was requested. City Council had the city attorney draft a letter and what have you, from what I understand. And what was written in it, from what I understand, some of the meetings, the meeting I looked at, see, I wish I could read, I wish I could move that because I would like to read that all together.
What is blocking your screen, Commissioner Medeiros?
Can I, let me see if I can go back. Yeah, let's see if I can't move this. Let's see if I can't, no. I want to read it. I put this together quite a few days ago and
You want to read like you have personal notes?
no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
It's on here.
Because yeah, we're seeing everything very clearly. The full
You are,
screen.
huh?
Yeah. we're seeing the
If
full
somebody
screen.
if somebody could read the B section for everybody, maybe it'll refer, could somebody read that for me?
Okay.
Section B.
Commissioner Medeiros, would you like me to help out since I'm here in the
Would you
chamber?
please? Thank you so much.
No problem. I'll go ahead
I didn't
and,
realize we'd run into this.
that's okay. I'll go ahead and read item.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Note, an open letter was requested by San Juan Bautista City Council to have the city attorney draft an open letter to the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission addressing, in quotes, concerns conducting its meetings and fulfilling its duties, end of quote. As noted at March 13th, 2001 of the City Council meeting, video recording on May 17th. Correction, I believe that's probably a video timestamp, sorry.
Yeah.
03/13/01 video timestamp of the City Council meeting video recording on May 17th of 2022 drives the question When and where and why was the open letter requested by the San Juan Bautista City Council? ?
Okay, stop right there. Okay, Attorney Raithy, you could probably tell us a little bit better how that happened, because I can explain it too. But now that you're here, maybe you can let us know how that happened.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Yeah, the direction to prepare a letter was given at a properly noticed closed session held by the city council on March 15th. And that closed session was held under the Brown Act designation for a performance evaluation, in this case of the city manager, employee performance evaluation. Because direction was given in the closed session, and I could say that because that's what I reported out after the closed session. But because it wasn't a closed session, I cannot say more about what took place in the closed session, which I could, but I can't. And I don't believe that the discussion, I can say that the discussion in the closed session did not impermissibly stray from the title of the closed session subject, which was the performance evaluation. So I don't believe a violation of the Brown Act took place on that occasion. There was some question about that, I know. And then at that regular meeting, I reported the direction had been given. As this was not a final approval of any action, the specifics of the direction were not further reportable under the Brown Act. Shortly thereafter, I drafted a letter and circulated it to each council member individually to solicit their comments. So each council member was separately warned not to have any communication with any other council member. And I believe that everybody heeded that warning. The council members were advised that if direction was going to be given to approve and then subsequently to send the letter to the planning commission, that the direction and final version of the letter would need to come before the public and the city council for approval at an open session. And that took place on May 17th. The letter was in the agenda packet for that meeting, which was published 72 hours before the meeting as required by the Brown Act. And at that point, the council did approve the letter and it was subsequently sent to the planning commission. So I think that just covers the relevant points as to the how the letter, where the direction came from, how the letter was prepared, when it was approved, and the action then taken to send it to you folks.
Thank you. Perfect.
You're
I'm
certainly
glad
welcome.
I'm glad you're here today. But anyway, go back to the left side of this particular presentation, down the bottom. I'm looking for a benchmark, and you know, I want to stay united. I want to keep everybody together on this, on the same page. We're dealing with something that's it's important and serious. But how do we stay united? Those are some of the things that went through my head as I was going through all this. That being said, we did review the open letter, and this is some more of the information. If you want to continue, the last two that you read, or the last one you read, Commissioner Morris Lopez, pretty much was covered by attorney. Now this portion here, you can read the first three to some of the things I was reviewing. Starting with the letter D all the way down to the letter G, please. Thank you.
Yes. Number D, or letter D, that such open letters may divide, disengage, and alienate official elements and personnel within San Juan Bautista's local government and supporting agencies. Letter E, the open letter may spread and represent mistrust, hatred, and may be construed as San Juan Bautista City Council abuse of power, quick to punish and not to solve, ? Letter F, the open letter may be hypocritical, a Brown Act violation, exclusive, and bullying. Letter G, are there more effective ways other than an open letter when handling such sensitive and personal matters of performance and conduct of duty? I.e., when handling negative matters, it should be handled one-on-one privately, and when handling positive matters, to do so openly and in celebration by serving a Brown Act cure and correct demands letter. And it points to Brown Act complaint letter, First Amendment, coalition.org as a link for that particular letter or document.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. And Attorney Rathi, could you explain a little bit about the Brown Act complaint letter? It's a little different than what we're going through with an open letter, isn't it not?
Right. A Brown Act complaint letter, sometimes known as a demand to cure, is sent after there's some perception that the Brown Act has been violated. And there's a time limit, I believe, in which it needs to be sent. And then there's a time limit also, and I'm not going to quote them because I'd have to look them up, but there's a time limit also for the council or whoever's receiving the letter, whoever is alleged to have violated the Brown Act, to cure the violation of the Brown Act. A lot of times, these things come up in context of where something has been, there's been a conversation between maybe a quorum or a majority of the council members in some way, and it was not made public. And in many cases, curing the Brown Act basically requires making something public. That's really the cure for the Brown Act. The Brown Act is an act, as we all know, that the legislative body's business is to be conducted in public. And so if that's been violated, in many cases, the action to cure is to make whatever it was public. So that's essentially the short description of what a Brown Act cure violation or a Brown Act violation letter is.
Thank you again. Okay, I'm not going to ask for any questions right now. Okay, so now what? What do? I got all this information. I did some research. I decided to give myself an education as to what I really needed to go after as far as really understanding where all this is going to when it comes to open letter. Never saw an open letter before, never been involved with one before. What is it all about? And this is what I did. First thing I did was go through the Brown Act. And you can see in the background, that's a picture of us at one of our meetings. This happened to be a picture of us in the VFW hall. We had a joint meeting with the City Council and the Planning Commission with the EMC and Blue Zone, who was conducting a counseling session on land use and what have you. Anyway, that being said, one of the things I wanted to brush up on was the Brown Act. And so I went through all these exercises, and I have here described here pretty much what it's all about when it comes to the Brown Act. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but that being said, one of the things that I've learned about the Brown Act, I think the most simple thing that we can do, it's a tool that we can use. It's a regulation, it's a law that we're supposed to abide by. But one of the things that I found out about the Brown Act is when we are in compliant with it, in other words, we're doing everything we can to be compliant with the way we're supposed to conduct the meetings, it expedites whatever we want to do more effective, a lot faster, and we get to stick to the subject. And believe it or not, we build the trust between ourselves as a team, but most importantly, with the public. So I know if you go through it, if you study it, there's a lot of pages there. I have a link, all of these links that you see within this presentation, they're all active. I can send you this information and you can go right to it. You can do exactly what I did. You can see in the blue here where I'm saying, one of the rules when it comes to meetings, when you stick to the facts, as far as when it comes to the agenda, you stay on the agenda. That's the rule. You stay on the agenda, work on the agenda, and that's it. And that's what we're there for. And we don't go off and do other things unnecessarily, you might say. But don't take my word for it. Go through some of this and you'll come up with the same conclusion. And also you'll be able to learn how best you can present yourself at all the meetings. You can see it gets real wordy here, but the stuff that I put in blue, is it on the agenda or not? You can see right at the top there. If it is, then the Brown Act is in other words, if it is, then the Brown Act compliant with it. So whatever you do with it, make sure it's compliant. And if you do that, you're doing all the right things. How to do that? Stick to the agenda. That's all you got to do. One of the things that I picked up on all of this stuff was the fact is you got to learn how to dialogue. We all do. And 99% of the time when you dialogue, you're listening. The other thing that I've learned in all of this is debating. The only time you debate is when they asked you to on assignment. So that we can learn which is the best way to go. Let's debate on it. Let's see where do we go. Which one wins? That's the only time we should debate. Other than that, it's all dialogue. Most of that is listening. So, as far as my research went, these are all the different things that I did, believe it or not. All these, if you would like, I did send a copy of this to staff and they can present this to you if you want. I went through this. I went through, when it comes to the Brown Act, I did, which is the Fair Political Practice Commission, Public Records Act, the Political Reformation Act. I even looked up the Article 6 of the United States Constitution. Very interesting when it comes to meetings and what have you. How about freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and of course the Brown Act. And a very good group, and that's the Institute for Local Government. They have a very good webinar that all of us can have access to. What you're looking at here is between 3 to 5 hours of some of the research that I did and going through all that. And if you go down towards the bottom where it says the Institute of Local Government is civility and local government, everything that you see above that is rolled up in that one webinar. And one of the things that they stress is civility, the act of civility. And that was really enlightening for me. That being said, oh, and not to mention, one of the things that I looked up was common law conflict and also common law bias. You need to know that on invitation, San Juan Bautista City Council declined to attend the Planning Commission schedule for July 5th. I invited them to join us where we were going to do this report. They did not want to join the meeting. They had other reasons not to. On July 29th, on July 19th, as a member of the San Juan Bautista's public, I spoke for 3 minutes regarding this particular open letter. I ran out of time, but I plan to go back in the next meeting and complete that presentation. So it's about another 2 to 3 minutes that I'm going to conclude. And basically what I'm doing with the city council as a member, a citizen of San Juan Bautista, is reminding all of us that there's always room for improvement. And in all the research that I did, when I went back as far as February of this year alone, and looking at all the city council meetings that were conducted, I think we all needed some more training when it comes to the Brown Act or whatever, even civility. But anyway, that being said, here we are. So here's my recommendations, and if you could read those for me also, Commissioner Morris Lopez.
Yes.
Please.
Item number 1, recommend having a planning commission public meeting to draft an open letter or discuss or response to the open letter from San Juan Bautista City Council to A, find out why it was necessary to have an open letter, and B, was the open letter drafted by San Juan Bautista City Council in a public or closed meeting according to Brown Act rules and expectations and intent, question mark. Item C, what does the current active members of the Planning Commission think advised about the open letter from the San Juan Bautista City Council? Item D, in a public meeting, what does the public think advised about the open letter from the San Juan Bautista City Council? Item E, what does the current San Juan Bautista administrative staff think advised about the open letter from the San Juan City Council? Item F, what does the current San Juan Bautista City Attorney think advised about the open letter from the San Juan Bautista City Council? And item number 2, under Brown Act guidance, we have the authority and responsibility to avoid taking sides and stay united. Item 3, or recommend doing nothing and disregard the open letter altogether due to lack of counsel and judicial authority, unfounded and baseless facts, and hypocrisy. Number 4, training and workshops being compliant is best.
Thank you. One of the, here again, I come up with benchmark and staying united and taking ownership and really focusing on teamwork. There's a lot of the things that came back to me that we need to work on together when it comes to things like open letters. In conclusion, and this is my personal conclusion, I think, other than noted in this report, based on my research relative to the San Juan Bautista City Council open letter to the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission, I find and recommend to the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission that there is no reason to take further steps in response to the open letter. And why? There is no instruction to do so. Number 2, no merited reason to respond. That we as an official, a government agency, and I can't read the rest of it. Sorry about that, folks. I wish you could hear me verbally on that, but could you read that too as well, Jackie? Number 3.
Item 3.
Number 4.
That we as official government agency for and of the city needs to take into serious account our means of conducting its meetings and fulfilling its duties, in quotes. That the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission will do what we can to ensure the city as a government agency are in compliance with its responsibilities and authority over city policies and public trust. And their phrase is training, question mark. Teamwork, ownership. Item number 4, furthermore, the Planning Commission will do everything in its power to continue as a positive example and as an important element of San Juan Bautista's governmental authority over and with its planning commitments as it serves the people and the city's San Juan Bautista general plan. Thus, we have already taken steps to prevent the need for open letters and exemplified our past meetings and as we go forward from here on out, as noted with this PC report. Thank you. And I, as the co-member of this ad hoc committee, would just like to give a brief statement personally for the record. I was a participant in the audience when this open letter was introduced. It was in the packet. It was not discussed. It was a vote that was unanimous by the current city council. I was pretty much shocked and dismayed. It felt like we were blindsided, kicked in the gut, because I feel like we should work together as a team. There is staff, there is elected officials, which is the city council. There is the appointed officials, which is myself and my fellow commissioners. And we are trusted by the community to manage the city, make good decisions for the community, listen to the community, and support each other. And I felt that this letter was an absolute evidence that we were caught up at the knees. We were not given a heads up. And it further, I think, integrated public mistrust. We as the Planning Commission have the responsibility in how land is used. And it's a very important job. And I feel that if we are outrightly, publicly accused of not operating ethically or with expectations that are put on us, what does that do for the public when they look to us to make good planning decisions and land use and zoning? What does that look like to a prospective developer that comes into our community that has to present their project before us? It really has damaged. I've had to step back and have a thick skin about it. But I mean, in the long run, I feel that if we want to run this community in a proper way and proper governance, we have to support each other. And the letter itself, to me, kind of reads a little bit of hypocritical when they talk about don't take this letter as a personal slight against any one individual. But I feel that unless you come up with specific facts as to why this letter was even proposed, generated, and finalized, there had to be some individual slights or problems with us. And that would have been the time to maybe counsel, direct, talk to us individually if that was the issue. But to put this out publicly and say, on one hand, it's really not picking on any one of you, but at the same time, it's kind of like that takes me back to grade school or junior high, or when there's that one kid or two kids that are acting up and you can't go out to recess, put it very simply. So then the whole class is held back. That's the effect that this had to me. And I think we've moved beyond grade school and junior high. We're adults. We have the responsibility of governing the city. This is really important to me. I do this as a volunteer, as my other commissioners do. And I think we are due respect. And this letter just is not what I expected. And I don't think it was handled in the right way to present it that way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
I'd like to say something, I've been gnawing at the bit here. I have had meetings with Don and Brian. I need information. On July of this year, I personally said, I need help to control the meetings. I need more information. I have that email. And here we get an open letter because we're not prepared. Look at the last meeting. We got the meeting the day of, and we're not prepared. How can they put that on the letter if I've been asking Dawn since Brian started to prepare me, talk to me, give me the agenda before the day of, Friday, Monday, Thursdays? At what point is it going to be? I have asked for a particular item since June and still haven't received those things to be up to par with what I need to do. So they can give me an open letter, but the city council should know, and the city of San Juan, that I have repeatedly I don't get the logins. I'm speaking for myself. I asked for information, and I want you guys to all see what we deal with. It was the last meeting, last minute. We have to search for the things on the website. I have to call. I asked Jackie if she gets it, and she goes, no. And then I type Brian, and I've set up a Thursday meeting before. Last week, he changes it. I said, I can't do it. So I want consistency. And I feel very upset that the city council had an open letter with us when they should have asked us, why are you so uninformed? And I'd say, because I asked Don. I've been asking Don for 2019 for stuff. And it's the same stuff. So at what point are we going to look at what is not happening? Like my other two commissioners say, we're volunteers. I had to dig for the ABC. I called the ABC for things that when we get ABC letters, because I asked Brian, he goes, oh, it's okay. No, I want to be informed. And when the city gives us a recommendation, it's a recommendation. It's not law. And we as commissioners do our own due diligence. Like Commissioner Maderos, he says that he starts looking for stuff on Monday, Thursday. Then he has to call to get it. Jackie's the same thing. I got an email saying that there was something ready, and it wasn't. So I would like this open letter removed, because there was evidence to our last meeting. We were not given the agenda, the information till the day of, hours before. That's my feeling.
Thank you all. I just wanted to conclude with a couple of things. One, I would like this meeting today to acknowledge the fact that I came up with a presentation. And by the way, this was personal to me. No one else wrote the words in there but me. So I would like to be acknowledged for this presentation and approved that it's a step in the right direction. If you could do that for me today, I'd appreciate it. And the other thing I wanted to tell everybody that I apologize to everybody, me personally. I'm not apologizing for anybody, not for the Planning Commission, but for me. That I could have done more, and I will be doing more. And hopefully, because of this open letter, I'll have the opportunity to do that. And I'm not going to stop going forward with this, because I want to make sure that it's clear that we can continue to improve as we go along, stay united, and make sure that we do everything possible to make sure that we earn the public's trust in everything we do. And because they see that we work as a team. And that's what I want to work for. And I just feel I didn't do enough to bring that about, to make sure that we don't have an open letter. I should have done more. And I'm going to do it. I'll be doing that. So you haven't heard the last of me on this issue. I'm still going to be working with the city council, do everything I can to make sure that we prevent another issue like this from happening. Thank you. Any questions from the public or anything?
Okay, thank you, David, for your presentation. Great job. Anything to say, Commissioner Morris Lopez?
No, thank you.
All right. Okay, with that, let's move on to
Any public
the
comment?
discussion items.
Chair
There was none.
Delgado, we still have not received any public comment opportunity on this matter. That was just the presentation and commission statement.
I'm sorry for that. I'm just,
It's okay.
okay. Yeah,
Just,
yeah, that's, no, hold on. Let me do the public comment, Mr. Rafi.
sure.
Okay.
Do we have any
Anyone
public comments?
Yeah, anyone who has joined us tonight that wishes to speak on this matter, please use your raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. Give me a second here. We're going to need to remove out of. Okay. So for those that have joined us now, we are eligible to take these public, sorry. I apologize, Chair. We need to stop the share screen, and for some reason that caused me complications. We do have Alvarez here. As I'm continuing to speak, I'm bringing in G. Alvarez. If you give me just a moment, I'm going to continue to let everybody know that if you'd like to speak, use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That will raise your hand, and then when you are entered into the meeting, unmute yourself and your 3-minute timer will start. This does apply to those here on Zoom. So thank you very much, Ms. Alvarez, for your patience on that.
No problem. Thank you. I just wanted to thank everybody.
Give me just a moment.
That sounded, like it was rough. And I wanted to thank everybody for even going through that dialogue, and thank you. And now I cede whatever is left of my time to whoever else wants to speak.
Okay. And anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak, please raise your hand at this time. We do have EJ Sabathia. I'm bringing you in. If you unmute yourself and state your name for the record as well, please.
Hello, my name is EJ Sabathia. First off, I just wanted to thank, it was clear from the fact that you took time to do research and have so many slides, David, that this was a passionate issue for you. And I appreciate that passion and time that you're volunteering, even outside of meetings to go through and look at all that. It's clear that it was a passionate issue to you. Reading between the lines, I guess what I'd have to say is I understand people taking exception to how the the criticism was and feedback was given. That's completely understandable. Like, there's possibilities, and like you stated, David, there's ways that it could have been taken care of aside from an open letter. Looking past that and looking through some of the, I myself went back through a bunch of videos and a bunch of previous meetings, both city council and planning commission and HRB. And I guess all that I would state is that to me, if I had been involved in that, I would have seen opportunity, like you stated, to do better. And I would just ask that people look through that and try to do better. There were lots of instances where me as a new resident of town was I wouldn't say I was proud of the way the meetings were run and some of the statements and the way people treated each other. That's all.
Okay. Great. And at this time, Chair Delgado, we do not have any other hands raised.
Darlene Boyd is on the screen.
I'm sorry, it was hard to hear you. What'd you say, Don? Oh, Darlene Boyd has entered the meeting. Darlene, did you have something? Did you want to speak on this matter? Okay, I'm going to say, well, Darlene has not. That was probably an inadvertent bring in when I was trying to get my share screen situated. So I apologize for that. We do not have any other hands raised.
Okay. Okay, we can move on to the next action item.
This is an action item. We're gonna make
I
a
mean,
motion to do it.
So what would we like to do with this, David? I say remove it.
I asked you to recognize what my presentation was. Also, that I gave you some insight as to what we can do to improve ourselves. I'm not just picking on anybody, one person. I think there's an opportunity that we need to improve in some areas. And if they are, I've given you some places to go to in order to learn that. So I have a list of things that I went through, and I'm recommending that for all of us. I'm also going forward to city council with this information too. We all need some improvements, and I'm saying we've been asked. The other thing too is we've been asked to do a lot of training.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of stuff. And now that I've learned a lot of stuff, I'm sharing that with you, what I've learned. And what I've learned, we need to help each other to do better. And that's what so we need, what are we going to do from here? What's the action we're going to take?
I would like to
What's the motion?
to be informed by Dawn and Brian, the city. I'm not the day of or the day before. We need to work together, like you say, because we need to move forward. There's a lot of things that are coming up, and the city count. I'm totally for it. Yes, the past meetings have been chaotic. Some of them, I know that. That's why I asked Dawn for help to get people muted and whatnot, and Brian. So we need more structure, and maybe going back to where Jackie might, the vice chair is, so that we can have that, because we've been on Zoom and it was new to everybody and we couldn't mute anybody.
Chair Delgado, this is Brian Fouch. Maybe I can make a suggestion here. And first a question is Commissioner Madero's presentation, the recommendation of the ad hoc committee to the planning.
Well,
commission?
he gave us
That's a
various.
question. That's a question for the ad hoc committee. Is this your recommendation of the planning commission? Is that the action item?
Yes, he gave us. He gave us.
Excuse me, to adopt the presentation as the planning commission's response to the open letter.
Yes, but he also gave us various.
That's a question.
Avenues. He gave us various avenues on what to do on your last conclusion.
I recommended that we take steps to improve, like I did, to improve, to go forward, and to accept my, I gave you a list of links that you can go to learn a lot of things.
Yes.
I'm presenting that to all of us. And that's one step that we can take to prevent open letters from happening.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. I want a motion to do that, and that's it. Other than that, then you have to make another motion to say we're going to go someplace else. So
well, you are,
if you don't want to
David,
accept that motion, you just have to tell me, I don't want to accept that motion, you want to go someplace else.
I understand that, but in your presentation, you always say to remove the letter, to do nothing. You gave us a bunch of alternatives.
That was the recommendation. I said in conclusion,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Okay.
not to do nothing, but to take steps like I did and improving our way of conducting meetings by learning from each other and by going to the links that I didn't, you don't have to go through all of them. I went through
Yeah.
5 to 6 hours and ended up, enlightened. So I'm asking us to go off and get enlightened, to come back, because our meetings would be a whole lot better, period. That's it.
And
That's my final recommendation.
well, I want to add that we get our information in a timely manner. I want to add that on there because
Go ahead.
I don't think you put that on there, David. I want accountability that we get our information in a timely manner. And that's what I will recommend. What your presentation was, but I want to add that the city give us information in a timely manner.
But that's not what I'm asking.
And
You
no, I
got
want you. I like what you said, to go to the links, but you just gave me that today.
it doesn't mean we can't do what you want to do other than, but I'm asking to make a motion on what I've asked you to do. That's all I'm saying. Doesn't
I
mean we
said I
can't ask for more notes, whatever. Maybe you
Yes.
need. Okay,
Yeah, I want to make a motion what David's recommended, but I also want the city to give us our things. You have to be clear with these people, David.
I think I did that.
I'll make that
It
motion.
sounds,
I think
it sounds like we,
I'm asking that in the presentation. Thank you.
it sounds like we have a motion by Commissioner Maderos. And then we have a friendly amendment proposed, which I understand was not accepted. And then if there's a second motion before the body, that would be a substitute motion. Is that, I believe that's probably pretty close to where we are.
Yes,
Permission
because
to
I
speak-
want it. Go ahead,
permission to speak.
Jackie. Go ahead,
Yes.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. So just kind of getting back to the issue at hand. The item that was for discussion was a presentation by the ad hoc committee on the open letter by city council to the planning commission. Commissioner Maderos did a presentation. I think he wants acknowledgement in the resolution to acknowledge that presentation. I agree there was a lot of open-ended possibilities of how we can move forward on response to the open letter. So there are several choices. For me, keep it simple resolution. We accept his presentation on behalf of the planning commission, his presentation in response to the open letter. I hear you, Chair Delgado, you are wanting a separate issue that is not, I respectfully disagree. I don't believe it has a place to be tagged onto this item. Maybe it's something that we can discuss. I don't know, you're the chair, that would be at your purview. But I think we want a clear-cut resolution dealing with the open letter tonight. If I may so speak to that, thank you.
Yes, and on that open letter, it says we weren't prepared. And David didn't touch a lot on that. If you read the open letter, so we're not prepared, we are rude to each other, we're combative to Brian and Don. So how can we be prepared if we don't get the materials?
That's all part of the presentation. I'm sorry, it's covered.
And if I could just point out one matter, as Commissioner Maderos did point out, the Brown Act is very important to a proper and efficient functioning of any legislative body. And of course, the Brown Act requires that the agenda that's going to be taken up and the agenda packet, the materials that are going to be considered by the legislative body for a regular meeting must be available 72 hours before the meeting. So anything that's not available 72 hours before the meeting is basically not on the agenda. Now, there are certain things, for instance, the presentation that Commissioner Maderos made this evening, a PowerPoint. When that information is made available to the legislative body, it must at the same time be available to members of the public. And I believe it is, and copies. But essentially, the idea of the Brown Act is that the agenda packet, the agenda and the documents that are available need to be available 72 hours before the meeting.
Okay,
So moved.
so moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Okay.
I second that.
What have we just moved though?
Yes, what was the so move?
We got an initial motion by Commissioner Maderos that he would to recognize his presentation and to recommend or to direct that commissioners review the opportunities for improvement and essentially to help each other do better. Then there was a substitute motion by Chair Delgado that would have added, there was a friendly amendment, but then it went to a substitute motion that would have added to that a caveat that information was to be received in sufficient time for the commission to consider it. That was a substitute motion. And then I believe there was a second substitute motion by Commissioner Morris Lopez, which I didn't quite get that done, but I think it was basically to revisit Commissioner Maderos's initial motion. Was that correct, Commissioner?
I actually was just a discussion point. I was just trying to redirect and regroup
Okay,
back to the.
so it was
original.
not a substitute motion.
No.
No, it was not.
Okay, very good. Thank you for clarifying. So we have a motion and a substitute motion. The substitute motion would be voted on first.
But we actually have no motion as there were no seconds to those
That's
motions.
true. You're right.
So
I
We
second
have-
the motion.
so the motion on the floor, as it would follow as legal counsel had done, is the recognition as set forth by Commissioner Maderos. As you had stated, legal counsel, the very first one by Commissioner Maderos. If we get a second to that motion, then the discussion can begin and the deliberation can begin on the floor to allow for amendments as legal counsel Rathi had pointed out. So
Thank you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you, Norma. That clarifies.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Norma.
So-
It can get complicated. It can-
Yeah, well,
Trust me.
and I'd say so moved, so moved.
Okay, so that's your motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
I second that.
Okay,
Thank
does
you.
everybody understand what the motion is on the floor?
I did
Yes,
not hear that. Please state the motion.
Okay, so team effort here. The motion on the floor is recognizing the presentation tonight from the ad hoc committee and recommending the planning commission and the historical resources board. Maybe I need help on who this is applicable to exactly. Take steps to improve ways of conducting meeting. As one example of suggestion is furthering education opportunities by taking webinars highlighted in the presentation.
Correct.
But the key is that taking steps of improving ways to conduct meetings is what I heard. Legal counsel, did I capture that or state that correctly?
I think so.
Thank you,
I
sir.
think so. And so
Okay.
that was the motion, and then there was a second by the chair, I believe.
Yes,
Thank you.
perfect. So now Chair Delgado, as presiding officer, we can move to deliberation amongst the commission and allow for any type of amendments or discussion, deliberation as following Robert's rules process.
I would like to amend that we get our information in a 72 hours, not the day of the meeting, hours before the meeting. And that's why we had to cancel last month's meeting because of that.
Okay. So an amendment would be recognizing all that's stated prior and amending it to also request that meeting material be received by the commission in adherence to the Brown Act regulations.
Correct.
So moved.
Okay? And it adheres to the Brown Act, okay? And that would be in the nature of a friendly amendment. And so does the maker of the motion, Commissioner Maderos, do you accept that friendly amendment?
Well,
Yes.
it's just a full-on motion for amendment. He doesn't need to,
Right.
accept- he did
Yeah.
second it,
Well,
but it's a full-on amendment. It's a primary amendment. And now open discussion and deliberation is only on this primary amendment.
so we're defining this as a
Okay.
substitute motion. Is that what we're?
That is
calling it?
correct.
This is a substitute motion,
Nope, this is a primary amendment.
but doesn't, my understanding is the maker of the motion, if it's a friendly amendment, needs to accept it as part of the motion. It
Well,
can't-
he
And he
did.
did.
An
If I
amendment
seconded.
can't, amendment can't stand on its own. Has to be amended, appended to something.
What's that again?
An amendment cannot stand on its own. It has to be an amendment of something. So this.
It
this
is. It's
an
amending the
amendment
main motion.
of the primary motion. Okay.
That's
Yes,
correct.
you're, Robert, Commissioner Maderos said that
Right.
we said first, second, and then I amended it.
Right.
If you were listening, we had.
Yeah.
And that's what she said. You guys have to do the first and second, and after that, you can have a discussion and amend it.
Right.
Put an amendment.
Okay.
Okay, got that?
Got it.
Can we take a roll?
Yeah. I think we're all on the same page now. Thank you for that opportunity to get us on the same page. So open deliberation on just the amendment right now can occur.
I make a motion.
We've already got a motion.
Is there,
I
so
know.
at this
I
point,
said,
Chair,
we're supposed to do roll call.
you can do roll call if there is no comment to the
No
amendment
comment.
and vote can happen. Would you like me to take roll?
Yes.
Okay. Chair Delgado. Now this is
Aye.
this is voting on accepting the amendment, which is requesting that the Planning Commission or the governing body receive material in a timely manner as adhered to the Brown Act, to be in compliance with the Brown Act. Okay, so that is the only thing you are voting on right now, is do you accept this amendment to make the amendment to that main motion? Does everybody understand a yes vote would amend the main motion? A no vote says you don't want to touch the motion that Commissioner Maderos made, seconded by Delgado. Can I get a yes? Everybody understands? No.
Everybody,
no,
I understand, yes.
I understand.
Okay, thank you. So Chair Delgado,
Aye.
Vice Chair Morris Lopez,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Maderos.
If I said no, it would cancel, huh? No. Yes.
No, it wouldn't, because we have a majority by 2.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not needed. See you later. No.
What is your vote,
Thank
sir?
you. Again, thank you all.
Yeah. he
But
vo-
what is your vote, sir?
Oh,
need to
I said
vote.
yes.
he did vote
Thank
yes.
you.
He did
Okay,
vote
so
yes.
now we
Yes.
are on the main motion as amended. So now the main motion reads that it is recognizing, accepting and recognizing the presentation, requesting that the Planning Commission take steps to improve ways to conduct meetings by sessions such as webinars as presented through, and the Planning Commission is requesting that material be received in compliance of the Brown Act. Okay, so now
Got it.
that's the main motion as amended.
Very good.
Whew.
That's parliamentary.
Yeah. Okay, so Chair, as presiding officer, this would be the time to take any further discussion, deliberation on the motion as amended. And if there is none, at that point,
Is there,
you would call for roll call.
Commissioner Morris Lopez, Vice Chair, do you have any discussion on the motion on floor?
No.
Commissioner Maderos?
No.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, I do want to point out, though, that we do have someone in the audience with their hand raised, and I will look to the legal counsel on historical practice. Being that deliberation has entered, the motion is on the floor, the governing body owns this discussion at this point. We have ended public testimony, but what is common practice and what is the chair's wish on allowing the testimony to open back up?
I have heard that we do not open comment, but we'll go to the lawyer.
If that's the custom, then I would agree.
Okay.
Okay.
And so, Chair, you have asked for the vote on the main motion
Yes.
as amended. Chair Delgado,
Aye.
thank you. Vice Chair Morris Lopez,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Mederos.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously as amended.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And I'll just, I think, going back to what Commissioner Mederos, I think one of the primary focuses of his presentation tonight was the rules matter, and the more we can adhere to them, the better we will do and the more efficient the meetings will be run. And I think we had a good example here. Believe me, they don't teach parliamentary procedure or Robert's Rules of Order in law school, but they are good skills and very necessary skills for any legislative body. And Norma's very good at doing it, and I'm not as good as she is, I'll tell you. But it is important, and maybe we can spend a little time at some point and do just a little short primer on Robert's Rules, which is a very good thing to know, and helps the meetings go faster and more organized, which produces, I think we can all agree, probably a better result. And this was a good practice in that, I think. No, really. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
I
That's all
agree.
have. That's all I have.
Norma's very good. She puts us all back on track.
Yeah,
very good.
which is
She's
where we
good.
belong. Which is where we belong. Yeah, as Commissioner
on track.
Mederos pointed out. Exactly.
Thank you, City Attorney. I agree with you that maybe we should go over our training, like Commissioner Madero said, training would be about the Robert's Rule of Order.
Right.
That could be one training that we can look at.
Yeah, and of course we certainly don't need to get into the full volume. It's a pretty thick book, but
Mhm.
I've got right here. But
Okay.
but there's only certain rules that really are going to apply to us, and if we're aware of them, we apply them uniformly, it'll be a better result.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll
City
certainly
Attorney.
try to assist as much as I can with that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, let's go to discussion item 6A, communication with Planning Commission. Brian, do you have anything on that?
Certainly. This item is just intended to sort of elicit some comments from the commission regarding what you feel you would like to see from staff, regarding our communication with you, and in particular, subject-oriented material. We've already heard, some comments about staff performance. We certainly take those comments to heart. That apart from that, we really would like to take, we have sort of not very many projects before the commission. That might change at some point in the future, but it's an opportunity when we don't have very many projects before the commission involving, sort of your quasi judicial actions to sort of look at subject matter like general plan or CEQA or zoning ordinance administration, things like that, that you really feel like you'd like to know a little bit more about. And then we can organize and make presentations to the Planning Commission as a body regarding some of these things that you'd like to know more about. Certainly, we heard this evening presentation from Abraham Prado about projects in the county. These are very complex projects. The CEQA process is very complicated and really difficult to discern what's actually happening in the bigger picture. So that's what I'm suggesting. Perhaps the commission think about things that you would like to see from staff. Me in particular, of course, that would further your knowledge of the planning process and things that you think are important. We did, when I do send you information about seminars and classes that I think would be important for you to pay attention to, we do intend to support the commission and provide the resources necessary for you to attend if you can. And where you can't, then we're sort of committed to make sure that you have some follow-up information that would enable you to listen to a webinar or after the fact, as it was the case with some ILG seminars that were recently held, that were invited to, that were held all over California and held here on the Central Coast, closer to us. So don't be afraid to make suggestions to us, if not this evening, then in the future regarding things that you would like us to know, to go over with you a little bit more thoroughly. In other jurisdictions that I've been in, for example, there's an annual CEQA review that I've conducted with planning commissions and boards of supervisors and so forth. So it's something that is possible. And then, looking carefully at our general plan, I know we just passed out the general plan for everyone. It's a big document, and maybe an orientation on that document would be important, especially since we're just about ready to get into an amendment procedure with our sphere of influence and so forth. So that's the intent of this particular agenda item. So any comments would be appreciated.
I think when Commissioner Maderos went through it, I think you heard us. I want to have the material sooner than not, because I like to look up stuff.
Yes, we heard that.
Tend to mention that item that you
and
were
also-
talking about in those minutes, Chair.
Pardon me? Oh,
This
yes.
is that time
like-
to mention those items in
Okay.
that minutes you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, also like June 9th, I asked you about the ADU count. I made a suggestion writing it in the letter. Where are we at with that?
Of course, yeah. So the answer to that question is pretty simple. We have a community plan, we have an active transportation plan, we have an economic development citizens advisory committee, we have grant administration, we have short-term rental code compliance, we have code compliance in general for specific projects. We have things going on in the building department and so forth. So these are all demands on staff time that are all programmed. And the answer that I've been giving the Planning Commission on ADU is that an enforcement program regarding ADUs is not programmed. And when it becomes programmed, when it becomes something that we are bound to do because it looks like it's important for the city in general, then we will embark on a program. With respect to individual commissioner requests, that we add a component to our pretty large and ambitious community development activities, that would be a significant addition, and we don't have the bandwidth at this point. And when we do have the bandwidth and there is an overall demand for it and a need for it, then we will. And that's my answer. If you ask me at the next planning commission meeting, I'll say the same thing. And I don't mean to be rude about it, but I have heard this request over several months.
Thank you, Brian.
And that
Thank you,
is the
Brian.
answer that I have given the planning commission each time.
I would like,
With all due respect.
I would continue asking you about the ADU because it's one, the safety. There's granny units and that fire, police do not know about, for police, ambulance, and for our arena. Getting the ADU count will go to our arena and will minimize us having to do, whether it be 24, 84, 104 units that we have to do. That's why I'm very on this, because I want to help our arena so we don't have to overpopulate our small historic town. We are a unique town, Brian.
Yes, Chair.
And that's
Chair-
why I
Chair-
want it.
Chair Delgado,
Wait,
I'm
wait a
not,
minute,
I'm not
done. I'm not
disputing
the
the
done.
importance of
I'm not done.
this
And I
program.
want it for two things: safety and our arena, and more so safety.
Understood.
And if that's not important, I don't know what is.
Yes, and my response to that is I agree with all the things that you just said. And in response to that, when it becomes a matter of importance that overrides all the other things that we're doing, we'll add it to the program. And because it is important that we understand. So I'm not dismissing it out of hand. I'm just saying that there's a lot going on and there's a matter of resources that bears on whether we can actually accomplish what you're requesting. That's all.
Okay, so safety is not important. Thank you, Brian.
Chair, to assist as staff support here to assist the item moving forward.
I would like to put ADUs count on the next meeting for an action item.
So this is just listing things that future communication with the planning commission, presentations that you'd like. So if you just list out those presentations and then setting agenda, that's my understanding, Brian, is this wasn't setting agenda. This is just trying to get a list of presentation material.
Correct.
That's staff report presentation.
Yeah,
request.
the idea here is to, sort of ask the commission what sort of resources you think staff can provide that will help you do your job a little bit better. Understanding the ordinance, understanding the laws, regulations that we work with, understanding our policy guidance and so forth is very important. So we're willing to develop programs around these if the commission would like that. So that's the importance of this particular agenda item, not to get into a debate about our program.
Okay. Chair, we've lost our chair.
No, you haven't lost your chair.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, okay. All right.
Any comments? Anybody would like to see something in particular? Please just let me know. That'd be great. With respect to the general plan, I have distributed the general plan.
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
I haven't heard from Mars Lopez. Did she have anything she wanted to add to communications as far as planning commission goes?
I was just waiting for the proper time and the order, we're following Robert's Rules of Order, so I was just waiting for an opportunity. I didn't know if we were.
Thank you, David. I was going to ask her, but Brian was talking.
Okay, so I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, no, I appreciate that this is a discussion item. I think it's gonna mitigate or sort of deal in an indirect way and an indirect way with this open letter that we got, and more recently any public feedback that we are not doing our jobs ethically. I think this is excellent that you're bringing this up, Brian and Dawn. I appreciate it. The subject matter that you brought up in terms of getting into the thick of what is CEQA, what is an EIR, discussing the general plan, perhaps because we are ready to do an amendment. I would like to see it more in context of what our historic design plan book. When you talk about these things in general terms, you're also applying them to huge cities, so I'd like it to kind of be geared down to how does it fit for us, and that would be maybe looking at those particular items or but then putting it in alignment with our own little particular HRB book and our design book and what we have here in our town, because we're very unique. And I like to keep it simple. And how does it really relate to what we're doing? Because talking about Sacramento or San Francisco doesn't get my interest, and it doesn't apply to living in San Juan. So I welcome any of that if you can kind of make it fit for us in terms of the discussion presentation.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then just kind of, you know, we all have a lot on our plate. Some of us are still working, some of us are retired. So if you do get wind of a local conference like that one that was last week, I was working at Mills College in the Student Health Center, so I couldn't break away. Just kind of send out maybe like a little reminder, like maybe every 30 days, say, hey, this is coming to, you know, Monterey, and I can, you know, pull away from my schedule, or at least try to, you know, request that day off. But missed opportunity, that would have been nice. But anyway, yeah, I welcome anything. Thank you.
Great.
Oh, that's right. Brian, did you check if we can go to other counties for that program that Jackie was talking about? Because you mentioned that on the email. Did you find that
Yes.
out?
Yes, I offered that, but I didn't get a response.
Oh, I thought you were going to check it out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. David, do you have anything to add to to
Absolutely.
have a better?
Absolutely. One of the things that I go along with whatever you were saying, Yolanda, same thing with Jackie. Those are all key. Communication is extremely important, being timely and on time and what have you. One of the things that, as far as communications, I think it would come under communications is training. I'm thinking what I have not seen coming from our government, you might say here in San Juan Bautista, is accountability for our training, or even accreditation that says that, hey, this guy's been through so many classes and he's done so many things, you know, and then all of a sudden we as volunteers, we're gone. You know, what's that all about? You know, do we take it with us? And if we take it with us when when we've served our term and what have you. So accountability for our training. I'd like to be able to work on that and help out with that if I could.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, did we all get our training for the year? Are we supposed to get retrained? Is there something that we need to do better as far as, you know, where we need to go? We might have some newcomers coming in as planning commissioners. Where do they start? And is there any accountability of it? Did they get the training that we were hoping for to help communicate things better?
Yeah.
If not,
Oh, and Brian,
conducting
and
meetings.
Brian, thank you. Yeah. And Brian, thank you for that email that you sent out to the businesses.
You're welcome.
Okay. So let's go to the next
I'm not sure
discussion item.
I'm not sure
No.
the businesses appreciated it very much, but anyway,
It's an ordinance.
yeah.
Thank you.
Chair
Okay,
Delgado,
so-
public comment?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
It's okay.
Any
It's been a
Any
full
public
agenda.
comments?
We do
It's-
have
it's-
someone from the public who wishes to speak here on Zoom. So I'm going to bring in Wanda.
Okay.
Wanda, if you unmute yourself, and in the meantime, if anyone else would like to speak on this matter, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. And Wanda, when you begin, your 3-minute timer will start.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. Regarding communication, I just recall that when I served on Historic Resources Board and Planning Commission for 10 years, we got our packets on Fridays for our Tuesday meeting. 72 hours suits the Brown Act, but even though you can get away with that, what's wrong with Friday? Brian has mentioned demands on staff time and not enough bandwidth to get things done, all the other things that they're doing. We need to get back to basics. We have more staff than ever, more resources than ever. So let's get back to basics. We're a small town. Let's act like a small town. Let's take care of our infrastructure. Let's take care of what needs to be done. Let's focus, Brian, on the economic development group. You've never once attended one of the San Juan Committee doing business as San Juan Bautista Business Association. We've been a nonprofit for up maybe 10 years, and yet you've never been to one meeting. We are getting things done. We invite you to come to one of our meetings. But anyway, communication starts with getting packets out on the Friday before the meeting. I don't see why that can't happen. Let's get back to basics. Let's focus on what needs to be done. And we have more staff than ever. So we should be getting the job done. Thank you.
Okay. And anyone else who wishes to speak, now's that opportunity to raise your hand. And Chair, we have no other members here on Zoom with their hand raised.
Thank you,
Okay,
Wanda.
thank you. Thank you.
Brian, anyone in the audience?
There's no one in the audience that wants to speak.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity.
Okay. And the next one is the general plan discussion.
Yes, I think it, just with respect, and this also goes to item 7B. I just wanted to emphasize that the request to have hard copies of the general plan is a good request. We're happy to have fulfilled that request. And if anybody wants to sit down and go over the general plan, let me know. It's an interesting document. It's not the typical general plan that most jurisdictions have. There's some gaps. For example, there's no cultural resource element in there, although we know cultural resources are key in San Juan Bautista. So there are some things that we really wish that we had in the general plan, and we're gonna, we always try to do what we can do. Every single project that you have that involves any discretion at all, including all your ordinances and your regulations, rest on the general plan as a foundation. So it's important to understand that document. That's why I'm offering to sit down with any of the commissioners and go over that document. So that was my intention there with that discussion.
Thank you, Brian. Commissioner Morris Lopez, any comments, concerns on that?
Yes, thank you. I had personally asked Assistant Mr. Fouch, Brian Fouch, to put this on the agenda for a discussion. I feel it's time that we have an open discussion. In the informal level right now, we're not asking for any action, just put it out there in the community that we are in a time currently where we're on the crosshairs of people coming from the north, people coming from the east and the west, that look at our rural community as a prime area to develop. And in terms of the general plan, the history behind that, and I'll make it very brief, is it was the beginning of the inception was in 2013 with a group of Cal Poly students and their professor. I believe they were graduate students. So this is probably their dissertation or their master's project. So that was a long time ago. That was 9 years ago. And it was under the guidance and direction of a former city manager, not to be rude or bringing up negative things, but that city manager was found to maybe not be in alignment with the city and was pretty much let go. So me as a citizen and then as a commissioner, I have to take a look at that document and say, is it time now that we start seriously looking at amending sections? For those two facts, it was for the age, for the direction that it was spearheaded by a former manager that perhaps spearheaded some development that was very contentious in the community and maybe got past some people that were sitting on planning commission and city council, and to the point where they had no legal recourse. They had to go along with that. So I thought back, if I'm going to do my job as a planning commissioner, then we need to really look at this document. It's our Bible, and it drives how our community wants to grow, where it will grow, and more importantly, it's 2015 and a lot has happened in 7 short years. Okay, and I know Brian mentioned that there is going to be some amendment in some sections, but I think us as a planning commissioners, this isn't our purview. So we need to start studying. We need to maybe do it on individually, but also take up Brian on his offer to go over sections with us. But I think for me personally, we're right now at the time where we are looking at a new community plan. we're being asked to consider development across the Alameda called South San Juan or New San Juan. And I have to say that was very new to me through my ignorance, not looking at the general plan when it was first put out and recently. And so it is in black and white, but like I said, that was a different time. There's a lot that's happened in 7 years. There's been COVID. There's been, drought year after year, and this year being extreme drought. We have infrastructure issues that exist today. Yes, we do have a light at the end of the tunnel, but we have to deal with the present, not the future. And we also have to look at the lack of good roads. We drive, any of us that want to go to Hollister that live in San Juan and drive on Highway 156, we deal with that daily. We hear sirens and ambulances. So I think we really have to take a good look, and our starting point is our general plan. And do we want to grow as that general plan that was drafted 2013 and formalized and finalized in 2015 by a different city manager, different scope of ideas of future growth? And fast forward to 7 years now, and we're dealing with a whole different set of facts and situations currently. And more importantly, the citizens, there was a survey that was done in 2020 through the mail. We all got it in our water bills, and they asked, what did we like about San Juan? And this was related to me by a couple of former council people, that the foremost and first thing that people said is they like the fact that it's small. They like the fact that it's historical. And that is their wish, to consider those two elements in terms of any future growth or how we grow. So I feel that this is time to start. It may be too late, I don't know, but I think it's time to address the general plan for the reasons that I've listed in. And it's a document that we need to be working with as planning commissioners and city council and any interested citizens that care about how your community grows. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Is there any questions or comments from the public? Norma?
Unmute myself. Yes, we do have some members from the public who would wish to attend, and anyone else who wishes to attend. I do see some hands being raised right now. If
You haven't asked me.
Oh, I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry.
David, even I got out of order.
I mean,
Should I just say,
Jackie.
man,
We need a break.
man.
and
Okay,
Hang in there,
Okay.
public. Hang in there.
okay, conducting meetings 101. Let's start over. No.
yes,
Uh,
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, one of the things that listening to everybody here talking about general plan, whether it's, I don't know when we're up for the next write-up for when it's due. I know this was supposed to take us to 2035, I believe. And why can't we have a workshop? Instead of just, well, we can go off and study at any time. We can have homework or whatever. Why can't we just have a workshop where we can help each other and with the public? That's my recommendation. But yeah, there's every reason we should be going over and over and over again as far as general plan, because it is our law. It's what we march to. So that's my recommendation. That's my suggestion. Have a workshop. We can all sit in one room and really discuss it. And if we invite the public, that would be great, because we can get some reaching out to them too as well, and get some feedback. Be interesting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Norma, any public comments?
We do. Thank you, Chair. I am bringing in Ms. Alvarez. If you state your name for the record, and then your 3-minute timer will start.
Gabriela Alvarez, and frankly, I think Mr. Medeiros has already just said it. I was going to question whether or not public trainings on the current state of the general plan might not be feasible or might not be a consideration, so that, you know, everybody understands what the current general plan actually provides for and what it's founded in and what it's intended to do in future. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And anyone else in the public that wishes to attend who is here by Zoom, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. Chair Delgado, we do not have any other hands raised at this time.
Is there anybody in the forum? Brian, could you ask Brian?
No, there's no one in the audience that wishes to speak.
Okay. And 6C, code enforcement.
Yes, just before we leave this subject, though, I'd just like to say that for everyone listening, the city does have general plan, historic San Juan Bautista plan, and design guidelines, in addition to zoning ordinance on the website under planning documents under the planning department page. So there's a lot to read there, and getting a sort of a good understanding of what's in those documents is a great place to start. So with respect to code enforcement, we did send out a notice to all the business owners. Our code enforcement officer will also be passing out this particular memo to business owners at all businesses on 3rd Street and 4th Street. And so everybody will have a lot of notice regarding compliance with the ordinance that we have. And I know this has been an ongoing subject. I'm happy to have put together an approach here that I think will not involve a lot of time, but let everybody know what the requirements are, and then a deadline for compliance, after which there will be compliance orders issued to individual businesses that are not consistent with the ordinance. And I am taking questions from individual business owners regarding what's okay and what's not. And I'm open to that as we go toward August 15th, which is on purpose a day after San Juan Day, to provide a little bit of relief there. So, I'm hoping that we won't have to do any compliance orders. I'm hoping we don't have to go to the next step with anyone. And that if people really feel like they want something different, they'll request an exception from the Planning Commission, which is something that's authorized in the ordinance for people that feel they have a special circumstance. And just an ordinary request to not comply with the ordinance is not sufficient. Well, I have to say not be, that's up to Planning Commission really, but probably will not be sufficient to warrant an exception, looking at the way the ordinance characterizes those. So looking forward to compliance with our ordinance in that respect. There are other code enforcement things going on. You'll notice that the red tag was lifted on the Casa Rosa project. That project is proceeding. There are some monitoring reports that still need to be submitted, just a few items. I've had some questions about the lights in the front of the building, and those are going to be the subject of a monitoring report letter from Garavaglia. And if you're interested in the monitoring report for historic resources on that building, let me know. I'll be happy to share with you, to share those with you. Anybody who wants to see those. The other thing is there's a small building on 3rd Street, 903 3rd Street, that has been red tagged because they went too far with their project and didn't seek approval like they should have at the right time. And we have applicant has contracted with an historic preservationist to put together a rehabilitation program for that building. And then we have an ongoing enforcement action on San Juan Hollister Road at Midnight Express, and we are continuing to work with the owner progressively and successfully, I might add, to correct that grading violation that's occurred out there. So that's our code enforcement actions. I mean, there's a lot going on in code enforcement that not really involved in planning, but that's basically it. Any questions about code enforcement?
Yes, I have a question. I read the part of the binder series that you gave us, the planning commissioners, Brian. You gave us like a whole chapter on chapter 11 that had to do
I'm
with-
sorry, Vice Chair, we can't hear you at all.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You have got to get really close to the mic.
Okay, there we go. I forgot how
Beautiful.
to-
Thank you.
All right. So Brian, you gave us along with the other binders, it was one specific binder that was on chapter 11 that spoke in depth to the signs. So in terms of the signage that's up, it talks about vertical signs. So school me on that. Are these the signs that are just kind of hanging in front of a door that go like 7 feet up?
Are you talking about the projecting signs from the individual businesses?
Yeah,
Yeah, those are allowed and by the ordinance, and there are standards for those. And where they relate to an historic building, then the HRB will get involved in approving anything new
Mhm.
or modification of anything that's existing.
Because I drove up and down the street over the last week just to kind of catch my eye to see what was there previously. And I do remember that you pretty much had to jump through hoops of fire to get a sign approved. So now with parklets being here, what kind of signage are we looking at for parklets?
In the guidelines for parklets that the committee, that the city council adopted and planning commission reviewed and recommended also. The signage for parklets is minimal. It's 1 square foot to identify the business. And that's all that's allowed. Now, we do have parklets that have pennants. We have more than parklets with more than one sign. We have parklets that have signs that are pretty creative and nice looking that are larger. And so I expect that some of those businesses are going to ask for exceptions based on the need for, exposure out there. Because the parklets are in the way, they're in front of the business frontage, and so it's really hard to see what's going on behind them. And so more sign exposure might be requested for that reason. So, but that I haven't,
Run
I'm
across it.
just answering questions at this point.
Sure, got it. So when you say on the parklet, it would square foot might want to be larger and it'd be like a flat face sign that goes on the front of the parklet. So when vehicles are driving past, they could see it. Or are you talking about vertical signage or just on the parklet itself?
On the parklet, yeah, they're all supposed to be inside the parklet. They're not supposed to be outside. So, the guidelines are very limited. The guidelines don't provide for much. Just 1 square foot and one sign of 1 square foot in size.
Okay, and is there a permit that is obtained if they are going to do one of these vertical hanging wooden signs? Is there a permit, like a monetary fee for that? Because I didn't see
Not
that in there.
quite sure. You mean
Yeah.
temporary signs?
Not temporary, but
Banners?
say if it's going to be a permanent sign for the business, are they required to apply for a permit with a fee?
Yeah, they need a sign permit,
Okay,
and there is a fee.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then,
And as part of the code enforcement action, I've attached the application form and so that people can obtain a sign permit if they want an exception.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Commissioner Maderos?
You go first, Yolanda.
Okay,
I haven't heard from you
You know,
last.
what? I
I
mean,
didn't hear from you last time.
well, I was giving you the opportunity. Thanks, Brian, for the code enforcement information, and that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess it's my turn now. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Code enforcement. I think we're all doing a good job there. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
No. And with that, let's go to the information items. 7A.
Yeah, in your packet, I've included a couple of newspaper articles from the Benito Link. And distributed, as I've said before, the general plan. We've already gone over that quite a bit. There is a memo on community development or community plan accomplishments and next steps, which I'll go over just very briefly with the commission so you know what to expect. After the last charrette at the VFW Hall, the plan is moving forward, and we want to achieve some things in that regard that are a little different. So I'll review that. With respect to newspaper articles, the Benito Link after the last VFW meeting and the charrette, I consider these articles to be editorials. I would like them to be newspaper, journalistic, but I really feel that they are editorials on San Juan Bautista's process with a particular slant. And it's interesting to read. And I feel a sense of divergence between what we're actually trying to accomplish here in the community and what these articles portray with respect to our sphere of influence effort. Some people may agree with the articles. Staff feels differently about them, I can tell you that, as do our consultants who are really heart and soul, really trying to identify what's important here in town and achieve those things for the community through this plan. There is an article on the San Benito Health Foundation plans for a clinic and sort of a question and answer article. So I thought that was interesting and wanted to make sure the Planning Commission saw that. The real project proposal that we do not have in front of us yet. And I know that there's been interest in seeing what that project's all about. This article may help people understand. And I know Rosa Vivian is here as an attendee. And certainly I know that she's probably, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I think she's probably more than happy to share any information with us that we can pass along to Planning Commission and City Council about that project when it's time. And like all projects that are complicated and ambitious, it takes time to put the basic project description together, and we just don't have that. So we're looking forward to getting that. I just wanted to assure everybody that when we do get that information, that we will not be shy about sharing it. Any questions about these articles?
Where was that article again?
In your packet?
No. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 7A and 7B. I'm sorry, 7A. Yeah, sorry.
7A.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
The first one is fun to read. So with respect to any other questions on those items before I get into the last memo, which I'll just cover briefly.
Commissioner Morris Lopez, do you have any comments on that?
Are we going to take one article at a time? Or are we going to discuss both of the articles? How are we doing?
Both articles. That was the first one that we had.
Okay, so the information.
Mhm.
I kind of disagree with you, Brian, about this being an editorial. I think it's simply a reporting of an actual occurrences that were witnessed. And I was an attendee at that meeting. We were both attendees, the planning commissioners and the city council. And so I have to say that this was a report of actual things that happened that I witnessed and I heard and saw. And it really is unfortunate that staff doesn't agree with this, nor do the consultants. But there are a lot of public there, and I tend to listen to what the public, and I have to say, they walked away very disappointed. And I feel like I've said it before publicly, and I'll repeat it again, that this is a fast-moving freight train that's been controlled by consultants and staff. That's my feeling. And you have to recall, this was a public formal meeting. And as far as using the information after two councilmen just abruptly walked away, really put that meeting at jeopardy. It was no longer a formal meeting. So I'd be hard pressed to continue and use that information as hard and fast guidelines for moving this plan ahead. And I know that plenty public members reach out to me, and they too are very surprised and really displeased with the process. Even now, even today, even yesterday, I get emails and phone calls. And so I don't agree with you. I feel this was a reporting of what occurred that night. And once again, I'm really concerned if the consultants and staff are using the information after the two council members left abruptly without even a mention of why they left. That pretty much closed that meeting to be just an informational meeting, not something that's guiding projects and procedures and development. That's my concern.
Commissioner Madero? Oh, did you want to answer that, Brian?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I didn't ask a question. It was a comment, Chair.
I'm just asking. That's Commissioner Maderos.
No comments, no questions. I did read the article though. Good articles.
Yes, but and there's however, the meeting was an informational after two. I agree with Jackie what she said. When two of the city council left, it was just informational. It was not a meeting. When we all took a break, I totally agree with what Jackie's Commissioner Vice Chair Lopez said. And as far as anything I can discuss about that, I knew nothing about the development until what's her name that spoke about it, that they were planning, but nothing is in writing. And that's the first thing I heard about it, because as Vice Chair Morris Lopez always says, is there any new, do you hear anything? Is there any more permits? Is there anything new? And up until then, you had told us there was nothing going on. And then we hear that day that you had meetings with landowners about growth. So I'm confused. How can you know and you tell us you don't know? And you ask for these meetings. And I believe Commissioner Madero was there at that meeting prior to the public meeting. And that's all I have to say. We need transparency. And we need to work together, and we all need to be on the same page, not just selected people going to places and asked to go to places. That's it. Is there any public comment, Norma?
Yes, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity here. We do have someone in the audience who wishes to speak, and I am bringing in EJ Sabathia. Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand feature. The button is at the bottom of your screen. And EJ, when you come in, please state your name. I know I did, but unmute yourself and then I will start your 3-minute timer.
Hello, EJ Sabathia again. First thing, I agree that the meeting became informational after the two members left. I will say that the information that was presented and the actual facts, aside from feelings, as far as the maps, is consistent with everything that was discussed between Urban Growth Boundary Committee members. There was no new information. It was just presenting that same information in a new light. So my personal opinion is that the assertion of, and I'll call them editorials, is I agree with staff that it was slanted. The information was consistent. There was no new information. It was just a continuance of being transparent. It's unfortunate that people's tempers got the better of them and they walked away. But I don't see any attempt to hide things. I just see it as an attempt to understand and have more meetings and have more communication. And aside from the fact that certain people got upset, I thought it was a great information share. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay.
And I'm bringing in Gabriela.
Hi, I'm welcoming more informational meetings and more discussion, but that public are invited to. And I'm hoping that the city will be able to shed more light on whether this is related to the CalAIM. It's not an initiative, it's CalAIM. And I just want to let that be known. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela. Anyone else, Norma?
We do not have any other hands raised at this time, Chair.
Is there anybody in the auditorium?
There's no one in the audience that wishes to speak.
Okay, thank you. Let's go with the, do we need to talk about the distribution to the general planning? We've talked about that before. Do you want
Yeah.
to talk about it again, Brian?
No, thank you. I think we're good on that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And what about the 7C, the memos, community planning accomplished, the next step?
Yeah, I'd just like to, after the meeting at the VFW Hall, which is the subject of these editorials, we did have some serious thoughts about how well we're doing. And we did distribute a memo to the City Council and to the Planning Commission about what we believe are important next steps. Believe me, we will take all of the input and the emotion seriously with respect to where we are and do a better job of helping the community understand that. And it's not just staff and the consultants. We want our decision makers to be fully engaged with the program to the extent that the community is comfortable with the objectives that we're trying to achieve and the overall goals, which are very important to San Juan Bautista. To not have a community plan, to stop the process, to avoid looking at the issues, to shy away from conflict is not going to stand us in good stead as we look at the growth pressures that are in front of us here in San Benito County. So, and these are growth pressures that come from regional and extra-regional influences that we really don't have any control over. But we do have control over what happens around us around our boundaries. And that's the purpose of this plan. And to have the community be comfortable with our goals and our objectives in preparing this plan is very important. So we're looking forward to having a dialogue with the City Council on that particular point. And you can see here in the memo that I wrote July 5th, 2022 about next steps, we are moving forward, but we're going to take a little bit of a detour in asking the City Council to look at guiding principles for this plan. We want the Planning Commission to participate in that. This is a conversation that we will put on the agenda for City Council discussion on August 16th. So that's where we're headed next after this meeting at the VFW Hall. We are not going to shy away from our responsibility to do good planning for the community. So we are going to address the issues that are in front of us. And that's what I think this memo is intended. It does refer to a joint Planning Commission City Council meeting. There may be another one of those. We don't know. But we hope to be able to put the issues squarely on the table so that nobody feels like they have to avoid the conversation. Okay, so just stay tuned for more and better planning that's necessary in order to achieve this important program for us. We need a sphere of influence. We need an urban growth boundary, perhaps. We'll see if that's the case, but we do need to have some control over what happens around us. So that's a staff.
Thank you, Brian.
On the memo, yeah.
Any Commissioner Maderos, any comments on that, concerns or questions?
No, good report on that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we've been doing. I'm looking forward to. whatever it is that's coming down the pipeline as far as the community plan goes. When it comes to transportation, all that we've been talking about, looking forward to continue with that and do everything I can to expedite it as soon as possible and get it done right. So I'm really, need my help, come look for me. And I'm going to be attending as much meetings I can attend when whether I'm invited or not. I've been attending meetings I wasn't even invited to. So I don't know. I'm going to all of them. I think I went to all of them and learned a lot from those in attendance and from our consultants as well. And I can't thank all of you for your participation and the public that have attended these meetings. And it has been outstanding. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maderos. Vice Chair Morris Lopez, any comments to what the memo was?
Okay, thank you. I'll work backwards because I didn't speak briefly to the Health Foundation, but we'll work with C since Brian just presented that. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And I think it takes a lot of courage to say publicly as staff that you didn't get it right the first time maybe, and you're willing to come back again to the public and the Planning Commission and the City Council and listen to us and the public. You know, it takes a bigger person to do that. I think it's taking a step back. We've all learned from things. I mean, I've learned that, you know, our general plan states that we are looking at South San Juan. That got in there, you know, and shame on me as a private citizen back in 2015, not paying attention. You know, no excuse. Busy in my career, starting up, just graduated. So, you know, that's my excuse, but it's really not an excuse if you really care about your community. So I'm thankful that you're bringing it back around so that we can get this right. And as far as, I think a lot of meetings with, you know, with the public, some more engagement. I don't know, meetings with the City Council and Planning Commissioners and interested parties. One thing that I have to give you feedback on, I don't know if you two are aware of it, but there were quite vocal individuals at some of the charrettes and the meetings where there were plans being taken seriously by the consultants and you all that don't even live in our town. And that bothers me. Okay, I don't care if they have an opinion, but if you're going to take their word as what we want and they're not citizens of the town, I don't think that that's really appropriate. Okay. So back to, let's see, informational item, let's see, distribution item B. Thank you. Those binders are now sitting on my bookshelf and taking up quite a bit of room, but I appreciate it. They're very professional. Well done. Thank you. And then lastly, the second newspaper article for information on the Health Foundation. At this juncture, I'm looking at it as just an interview and really can't comment too much on it since it's not a formal project. Maybe one thing that I'd pick apart about it is that in the one of the questions was, or one of the answers by the director, is that she said one of the reasons for that location is that she was her clients, a lot of her clients are from Santa Cruz County and Monterey County. And I'm in medicine, so I know how that works. Farm workers in both those counties have a wealth of other clinics that they are tied into. So I'm not quite sure how that fits in with her plan as to having the clinic there and that location to service that population from those particular regions. When you are a farm worker and you're not eligible for Medi-Cal or Medicare insurance, sometimes you get it through your employer, and if you're fortunate enough. And if you're not, you have an indigent base of funding that the county set aside, but you must be a resident of that particular county. So serving those individuals coming to our county may not work. And I know that to be a fact. So I'm just kind of wondering, maybe we'll have a conversation a little bit more, but that was one thing that stood out to me as a healthcare provider, that the reason for that location to service that population just doesn't seem to fit. And at this point, I'll wait for more information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. For me, the memo, what you just said, Brian, thank you. I just want transparency, information, work together so we can move forward, because I have a lot of passion for this town. I may not have been, my family hasn't been in San Juan for 100 years like some of the people, the residents, but I retired here in 2010 because I love the town. I love the atmosphere. And I know that we have to have growth, but we have to have sensible growth that fits our unique town. And, you know, things that have been like our ordinance are different from Morgan Hill or Hollister because the prior city council and planning commission have taken a lot of heart to it, like Caravank and Rhonda and other people that I can't think of right now, Jackie's family. We need to think about growing, but do it mindfully. And that's why I continue to say safety for the ADUs so that not everybody knows what San Juan is and how many people have granny units. And build 3 houses, and if we have 20 ADUs, and we only have to build 10 houses, and we meet what we need. And I'm sorry that I'm very passionate about it, Brian, but I consider it a priority for safety and for RENA. And I'm sorry if I'm aggressive, but I'm passionate about it, about this town, as David is and as Jackie is. That's why we volunteer our time to do this. We don't get paid to do this. We volunteer our time and we take it seriously. And thank you again, Brian, for your understanding. And
Please note that at 9:26 p.m. we have lost Chair Delgado. We do still maintain there she is. We just glitched out.
yeah,
Chair, can you hear us?
yeah. With that, I'm done, and we can go to any public comment on this informational.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. You'll be brought into the meeting, and then when you unmute yourself, your 3-minute timer will start. Anyone wish to speak, please use the raise hand feature. Chair, we don't have any hands raised at this time.
What about in the audience?
There's no
Brian,
one in
is
the
there-
audience that
okay.
wishes to speak.
Okay, let's go to comments. The Planning Commission, Vice Chair Jackie Morris Lopez, do you have any comments, concerns?
Just a comment. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff, for the reports and people that presented the information tonight. And I think my message to all of us and people that are listening on the meeting is that this is a very critical time in our community. Just as Brian said, and I've said this all along, we're in the crosshairs right now of development. And as you know, the County of San Benito just sat here at the beginning of our meeting and discussed 3 major developments right to the north of us. And that will affect us no matter what they say. So it's time for the community. If you have a voice and you have comments that you want us to hear, you can email me, you can call me, you can knock on my door, as long as it's not too late or early. Please reach out to us because we need to hear the community's voice. We are at a very critical point right now, and we have to be prepared. We have to have that SOI and urban growth boundary. We have to hear from you all. It can't just be us sitting up here tonight. So please reach out. Thank you.
Commissioner Maderos, do you have anything to comment on?
Absolutely. I always come up with that word, absolutely. No, I just want to thank everybody for a good meeting tonight. That's the main thing right now. I also want to thank the presenters, opening our eyes to some projects that are going on all around us. I know that they're out there. I know they've been out there and that kind of a thing, but now it seems to be focused, and there seems to be a lot of work placed on that. And I think we need to be on top of those things. I'm looking forward to going to their websites and learning all that, but I thank them for their presentation and bringing it forward to us. If there's anything we can do further on that, let us know. the other thing I want to thank is our to say I'm saddened and sorry that we lost 2 commissioners and board members as well. You know, for whatever issues and reasons, still it's sad to see them go. So I just want to thank them for their participation and helping us. I hope in the future, maybe they can come back to us. We'll see. Other than that, also, one other thing I think as far as going back to meeting conduct and communications, I'd like to get together with staff and work on some kind of a script for meetings for the Historical Resource Board as chairperson, and sit down with you and see if we can't do things in such a way that expedite things and gets things done in a manner that shows that we're a team player and that we're team players. And of course, the public. I want to thank the public for their participation tonight. I really appreciate all your input and feedback and comments and concerns. Thank you for joining us tonight. That said, thank you all commissioners. Thank you, attorney. Attorney's with us tonight. We should celebrate. We hardly see him, and it's so important to have him with us. Thank you for being with us tonight. I really appreciate that.
Certainly.
And staff, good job. Keep up the good work. Cannot get things done without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meadows. I want to apologize. You saw my hand moving a lot. I don't have a hard copy. I'm on my computer, so you probably saw my hand waving a lot because I was going up and down to follow the agendas and what was given to me for the packet. So I apologize if you saw my hand moving a lot. If I was not on the computer, I was scrolling up on my computer and I'm on my phone. So I apologize for that. Brian, thank you for the information. Mr. Raffi, I would like to thank you for being here and mentioning getting a quick review about the Roberts rules. Both commissioners on the ad hoc for the open letter, you guys did a great job. Thank you to both of you. Norma, thank you for railing us back online. To all the public, thank you for showing up. And like Commissioner Morris Lopez says, we cannot be the only ones complaining about things that are happening in the town. You tell us, we tell, we speak on your behalf, but we need more participation from the community so that we can move forward and make things better for all of us, not just for me or the commissioners. We all have to be united and work together. Thank you. The community developer, Brian, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing else to report. Thank you.
Brian? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Go
Can I have a
ahead,
second?
Commissioner David, you started.
Who's gonna, did David, you second
I
it?
move that we move to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Okay,
I
right.
second it.
We need a roll.
okay,
Do we need roll?
take a roll. Yes, let's take a roll. Please,
Yes, sure, absolutely, Chair. Chair Delgado,
aye.
Vice Chair Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Maderos,
Yes.
motion
All right.
passes unanimously.
Very good.
Good night.
We are adjourned.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everyone.
Good night.
Very good meeting.
Yes, please note for the record, the meeting has adjourned officially at 9:33 p.m.
Yay. Yippee.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.